Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to Elite Week. I hope everybody is feeling great tonight. How are you? Sound off in the chat. Okay, you can hear me. So hopefully tell me that my sound levels are good, and then we'll move on. In the meantime, I've spoken enough. Arson, hop in. Let's test yours.
Hello, everybody. Happy to be here as usual and say lots of fluffy things so you can hear my audio.
Wow, that one didn't sound like somebody that should be behind bars. That was, who are you and where is Arson?
You don't want to know where Arson is.
All right. And hop on in here, Roy.
Good evening, everyone. Hope you're having a great evening. Glad to be here.
Yeah. And unfortunately, Down to Earth Astronomy couldn't be with us tonight, but my cousin Erwin is here. Erwin, say hi to the beautiful people.
Ah. Good evening, guys.
Of course, we have Down to Earth, the man, the legend, best guide maker in the game. All right. So, Down to Earth, just say just a little bit more, just so people can hear your sound levels.
Yeah, I hope my sound levels are not too far off, and otherwise I will adjust my microphone, or someone will, I guess.
Yep, you sound perfect. We just need to make sure that the output is good on both platforms, and that's on Arson to tweak. All right,
Perfect.
So everybody's spoken enough. Now let's go through. Let's run through the chat. I'm gonna run through. Let's see. I'm gonna use this fancy new bot here and see. Let's see here. All right, DJ Wiley. Hello, hello. Yes, cool restream bot and everything. Okay. Roy, Boss Lady B, hugs and kisses. I love Boss Lady B, love WKJS. Those guys are awesome. Let's see here. We've got DH397 in the house. Twitch is better than YouTube. Smiley face with the wing. Yeah. We're agnostic. We like them all. Let's see here. We've got Sci TV. Oh, nope. Sorry. That was Boss Lady B. Sci TV link. All the great emotes are on Twitch. Let's see. We got Jerry Hughes. I'm training my brain to look at to differentiate this stuff. We got Quiz Engine. We got Jerry Hughes again. Biotic King. Hello, sir. 4 Englishies. Hello, hello. Okay, hello to all. Nice fit being lifted by the Tharg. Yes, we're gonna definitely get to that, Quiz Engine. We're definitely gonna get to that. All right. So I think I've caught everybody in the chat according to this little restream bot. Did I miss anybody from the YouTube side, Roy? Because I'm watching on the Twitch side.
I think you got everyone.
Beautiful. All right. So we're gonna just jump right to it. I hope. Yes, Jerry Hughes. Of course we recognize you, you sexy beast. All right, we're going to go ahead and jump into the recording because we got a lot to get to tonight. Arson, get it started.
Previously on Elite Week. I'm not going to lie to you. Either way that this plays out, you're dead. And I'm the one that's going to bring you the good news. You're a loose end. It's nothing personal.
Just like that, huh?
Like water's wet, the sky is up.
Must be nice. Have life all figured out like that?
Has nothing to do with me. We're just caught up in the churn is all.
I have no idea what you just said.
This boss I used to work for in Baltimore, he used to call it the churn when the rules of the game change.
What game?
The only game. Survival. When the jungle tears itself down and builds itself into something new, guys like you and me, well, we end up dead. Doesn't really mean anything. Or if we happen to live, well, that doesn't really mean anything either.
Lilo Dallas multipass.
Yeah.
Multipass.
Yeah, multipass. She knows it's a multipass. Lilo Dallas, she's my wife. We're newlyweds. Just met.
Multipass.
You know how it is. Bump into each other, sparks happen.
Multipass.
Yeah, she knows it's a multipass. Yeah, anyway, we're in love.
Hello, hello, and welcome to Elite Week. I hope you guys are all feeling good tonight. It is Friday night, and Friday night's all right. I am Kai Zen, your host on this drunken little trip through the galaxy, and it's one of those days. Woo! Arson, say hello to the beautiful people. We got Arson on tech.
Hello, beautiful people.
Awesome. That was short and sweet and to the point. Didn't creep anybody out, which actually, this is Halloween. This is the time when you should creep people out. All right. Yes, Boss Lady B cracking open a beer. You sexy beast, you. Roy, say hello to the beautiful people.
Good evening / morning to everyone. Really
Yes,
looking
yes.
forward to this show. Glad you're here.
Yes, yes. Happy time zone to you all. And we've got the man, the legend, the king of guides. Down to Earth Astronomy is here to say hello to you.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, so let's get right to this. We got a lot to do tonight. Let's start off with the intro. So we've got, let's see here. Oh, well, first I want to call out the cover art just because I really appreciate that. For the cover art, we've got High Octane Mamba by Commander Fosdyke. And we have the intro song was a cover of Eleanor Rigby by Commander Toko So and his daughter. That was a little girl. That's like I don't know, 13, 12-year-old, whatever. That's a kid with the voice of an angel. That kid should definitely get a college scholarship. And our closing song is going to be a nod to our guest tonight. So I'll let you see if you can guess what it's going to be. All right. So getting on with the intro, we have number one. A lot of things have been happening this week, and a lot of more things are going to be happening in the next couple of weeks. So I cannot strongly enough urge you, get on the Elite Week Discord. There's so many things that are going on and that we're linking to and all through the week that you need to make sure that you get it. It's just tinyurl.com/Elite Week Discord. Join in the conversations. Make sure you get the news. Don't wait for it. All right. So first off, we've got a spooky full moon. So this is a full moon on Halloween. This is super, super rare. The last time it happened was back in 1944. The next time it's going to happen is in 2039, if we're still here for it. And even rarer, it's a blue moon. Now, what a blue moon means is that it's the second full moon of the month. You only get a second full moon on average every 2.5 years. And contrary to popular belief, it has nothing to do with blue as in the color blue. Blue means that it is belu. Belu means traitor in Russian. And it's the traitorous moon because a full moon is only supposed to happen once a month. But with a belu moon, which we've contracted to blue moon, it happens twice in that month every couple of years. So dropping knowledge on you. And also, what are you doing here? The Mandalorian season 2 just dropped today. Get on that. Or maybe just have a beer with us, and after we're done, then get on that. And lastly, and this is going to seem a little cryptic till later, the Benedettisance has begun. That's right. I'm declaring my love for a certain Stephen right now. All right. On October 31st, this is coming up tomorrow, okay? On October 31st, and I warned you last week, so don't you laugh. On October 31st, Uranus is in opposition. This is the best time of year to view the planet, I'm saying the planet, as it is at its biggest and brightest of the whole year. If the sky is dark enough, you may be able to even spot it with the bare eye. That's cool. On November 3rd, a United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket will launch a classified spacecraft payload for the U.S. NRO, mission NROL 101. It will lift off from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida at 5:58 p.m., which is 22:58 GMT. You can watch it live if you go through the link. On November 5th, SpaceX is going to launch the Falcon 9 Heavy or no, just Falcon 9, sorry, rocket with launch, the U.S. Air Force third generation navigational satellite designated GPS-3 SVO4 for the Global Positioning System. It will lift off from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. There's a 15-minute launch window that happens at 6:24 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 23:24 GMT. Again, you can watch it live. On November 2nd, that will mark 20 years of continuously manned ISS. What I'm saying is, from November 2nd of the year 2000, there has always been a man or woman, multiple in fact, up in space in the space station. 200. Go ahead.
Yeah, as you said, there's been some close calls where they actually, it was a couple of years back, where they were pretty close to completely evacuating the whole space station.
Oh yeah, with that leak, yeah. So 241 people from 19 countries have been aboard the space station during that time. All right, Arson, hit the thing. Arson?
Arson had to take care of something.
All right, Roy, do the thing.
Yeah, so no worries.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live. If you're listening to us on the podcast, you might want to check out our YouTube, which airs at 6 p.m. Eastern and
8 p.m. Eastern.
8 p.m. Eastern, and let's see. Now with the daylight savings time, it's going to change.
Midnight UTC for this week, 1 a.m. UTC starting next week. We are a final machine, people.
If you're watching us on YouTube and would like to know how to catch our podcast, you can check us out at anchor.fm/Elite Week. And for sending us your thoughts by email, you can reach us at eliteweek3306@gmail.com. Our very active and growing Elite Week Discord can be found at tinyurl.com/Elite Week Discord, where you can check out community feedback, resources on turning the wheel, and real-time updates about Elite from a variety of content creators. In addition to the Discord community feedback channel, feel free to write in our YouTube comments anything about the topic of the week, as well as anything else you'd like to share. We'd love to hear from you. Also on YouTube, please make sure to like and subscribe and click on the bell. It really helps us out. If you're listening to us on the podcast, please make sure to rate and review us on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever platform you use, and let us know if there's a format you want us to look into. We don't do Patreon, so save your money and just tell your friends about the show.
Absolutely. We are seamless here. Fine oiled machine. Also, just as a heads up, again, this is our first night on Twitch, so I hope you enjoy us on Twitch or YouTube or wherever you want to. So let's get started with the show. Right off the bat, let's start with our guest interview. Our guest tonight is Down to Earth Astronomy. The man, the legend. Some people know him as Down to Earth Astronomy. Some people know him as D2EA. Some people know him as Hello Dave. Some people know him as Astro. I know him as the best guide maker, bar none, in the game Elite Dangerous.
Thank you.
I want to make sure that everybody knows his Twitch, YouTube, Discord, and Twitter are all in the show notes. His Twitter is at D2EA Astronomy. It's just, D2EASTRONOMY, no spaces. His Discord is discord.d2ea.com. His YouTube is youtube.com/Down to Earth Astronomy. And his Twitch is twitch.tv/Down to Earth Astronomy. No spaces or anything on any of those. It's just straight and to the point. So, right off the bat, Astro, I want to explain something. You need to sit back for a second, because this would be really gauche for you to jump in on this, because I'm going to just gush. There are like 3 content creators that I consider, just me personally, to be the best in the game, and you are one of them. And here's why. Here's why. And I'm going to back that statement up right now. Let's just randomly look at this week, what you have done this week in Elite Dangerous. And this is why you need to go right now. Pause it. Pause the podcast. Go and subscribe to all of his shit. First video. the best fighter in Elite Dangerous. Now, this is in your guide series. It's an 18-minute video. One of the things I love about this video is you don't fall for the obvious trap of going, okay, the best one is the Taipan. Get the Taipan. All right, done. There are some people that make guides that are like, okay, I'm going to tell you what you need to know in 4 seconds or less. And, okay, that's cool. But if you do that, you skip over a lot of the subtle points and the fact that not every 2 commanders are the same. What I like might not be what you like.
That's also why the way I structured the video is also the first part of it is the very factual, where I just go over the hard stats on the fighters that cannot be discussed. I mean, nobody can discuss whether like this fighter can go this fast. This is a hard fact. And then toward the end of the video, I go over like my personal preferences, because that's where it changed. And the whole mentality I've tried to work with when I do guides is, rather than like give the man a fish, is like teach him to fish instead. So tell him why I've come to the conclusion I have, so that if they don't agree, they can draw their own conclusions.
And that is key, because not only did you say, okay, here are my preferences, but you said, if you like this style, you might prefer that. But if you do this, you might prefer that. And you give people the options to evaluate, as you said, the data and make the choice that fits best for them. There's not a one-size-fits-all answer to this stuff.
No.
So that's from your guide series. After that, the next 2 videos that we're going to discuss are involving the Halloween event puzzle. And first, there was a video, Solving Frontiers Cryptic Messages live stream. That was a full live stream in which you're reviewing the different pieces, the different there were 9 squares, nine sort of sections of the completed picture of binary code. And you go through the process and you actually show people, all right, it's not just you look at it and go, okay, the answer is the Stones. He keeps watching the Stones. I don't know why he doesn't like the Beatles. No, you literally say like, okay, look, here we're taking this. I'm typing in 01100101110, whatever. And then like I go to this website where it has an ASCII converter. And then, okay, so since, here we can see that this is a capital letter, we presume that the letter before it is, going to be a space, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, Jesus, Arson, you had to go with that picture of Zermina Turbo. All right. So that was very, very cool. And that was like a live event. And it was a sort of a picture, sort of an example of not your typical stream in the sense that you don't normally decrypt binary images in your live streams.
No, but if it puts that in front of you, how can you not?
Absolutely. And then your second stream within the 7-day period is let's solve this together stream. And this was the day of the Halloween event going live. So now you had the fully completed 9 images binary puzzle, and you had the audio file that came from Frontier. And I want to be careful on this part. We're going to do a spoiler section later, but on this part, let's be careful on the spoilers. You have a whole process where you decrypt sort of all of the clues to date that were received on the day of the Halloween event going live. Yep. And you have a beautiful stream of a couple hours of like, let's do this. Oh, we go here. Oh, this needs a thing. Oh, I got to get this thing. And then I got to do this. And then I got to do that. And you sort of walk people through an intelligent sort of, not just, okay, here's the answer, whatever. And you warn people throughout the stream, like, hey, this is spoiler filled. So watch the stream after you do it if that's what you care. Or if you're like, hey, man, I don't really want to, whatever. I just want to go and hear the logs. Well, then play along. Like you give people the opportunity to engage at the level that they're comfortable with. And, so that was beautiful. The third,
and I hope it was pretty obvious when you put "let's solve this" in the title that yes, there will, like, we're gonna solve it during the live stream. There will be spoilers.
Sure, but I mean, you also gave like a half dozen warnings in case people were that dumb. So like anybody who got spoiled by your stream has no excuse because you told them that was going to happen.
Yeah.
All right. The fourth video that you put out was the Hello Dave video. And I've said from the very beginning, and I'm not going to say who the third one is because I don't want to make people feel bad. If I just say 2 of my favorite 3 content creators and then leave the third lane blank, then nobody can really get upset at me because you could be you. My 2 favorite content creators, 2 of my 3 favorite content creators in Elite right now are you and Burr. The Burr pit, Burr and Reedy together.
The Burrs.
Yeah, Burrs are collective. You can't get one without the other.
No, it's a package deal.
and honestly, my week starts with Hello Dave on Mondays, and my week sort of ends, and my weekend starts with Which Space News on Friday. So you did a beautiful guide on the fighters. You did 2 cool live streams on whatever the hell is going on in Elite that week. In this case, it was solving the puzzle and then solving the puzzle, but like part A 2 and part B. Yeah. And then Hello Dave was a video that you started the week off with. Okay, here's what's going on. Here's the news you need to know about in Elite. Then you put out your miscellaneous stuff, and your miscellaneous stuff it's not a guide, it's not a stream, it's sort of just, this is miscellaneous. And you put out 2 awesome videos. The first was Best System Ever, in which you and it will be in the show notes, you go to 2 different systems. Actually, there was a bonus system. You started off with Skaude, SKAUDE space AA TAC A space H294, where you visited some P-type anomalies, and those are very, very cool. If players have not seen them for themselves, if you're going out into the black, Google, look it up, look in the codex, whatever, however you choose to do it, check EDSM, whatever you're comfortable with. But go look up P-type anomalies and go check them out. And when you do, be careful. They bite. You need to know that. But then that was just a little pit stop. That was just a little amuse-bouche. And then that was followed by the best system ever. Go ahead.
Yes. Now, just like the P-type anomalies, the reason why I didn't dive into too much was because I already covered it on one of my live streams when I did an exploration live stream. So just because I thought they were cool and it was there, so I figured let's shoot a quick video on it and just put that in as a bonus at the start.
Absolutely. And then you got to the best system ever, which I think that's an awesome system. I'm still going to say, for me, my personal preference, the Dry Out Awesomes is the best. I know some people like the Collection of Wonders, but guess what, people? There is a third name to throw into the hat, and system ELLAISMS space QX TAC U space E2 TAC 43 is an awesome system that should definitely be in contention. It should be in the conversation. This system has 2 black holes, an M-class ringed star, a ringed white dwarf, a ringed neutron star, and also, as a bonus, body AB4, Alpha Bravo 4, is a captured object. It is a roving planet that was gripped and pulled in there. And the M-class is like crazy old. It's the same. It's like, it's so old. It's as old as like the universe. It was brought around the same time the universe started.
Yeah,
which is why it's
12
huge.
billion, if I recall correctly. The universe is approximately 13.8 or something, I think.
Yeah. So, which is that was like the whole deal with that Methuselah star, where they were like, wait a second. At first they were, because of the first estimates, they were like, wait a second, this makes no sense. This star is older than the universe. And then they adjusted, and it's like, okay, now it's theoretically possible that's within the window. But like crazy awesome system with lots of neat stuff to see. And then go ahead.
There was a question on Twitch, and would ask if there's ever been a ringed black hole. I've never heard of a ringed black hole in Elite. I've never seen one. But if somebody knows of one, get in touch with me, because I want to go there. I don't care where it is, but I'm gonna get my ass over there.
I don't think that a ringed black hole is possible. I think the gravitational effect is such that it would. There's no way that it would stop, like, at a ring. I think. I don't.
Black,
I mean, maybe
black. black holes have accretion disks, so
It does.
yes, technically it should be possible.
All right.
But
well, if you find one, message me, and I promise I'll let Down to Earth know just as soon as I put out content on it. So yeah, it's definitely super interesting. But so then you put out another piece of miscellaneous, which was just a little 2-3 minute whatever. It's a nothing video. Hilarious. It is. It made me laugh very hard. It was one of two things that really made me laugh very hard today. It was you, and it was the community management team the other day. You went in an SRV and you attempted to be alien abducted by a Thargoid barnacle.
Yes, that's a stream highlight. Yeah,
it was hilarious shit. So, but okay, so whatever. So here's what we got. In 1 week of content, you put out an amazing guide on one of the main, on a very important aspect of the game, the SLFs.
Mm-hmm.
You put out 2 streams where you're figuring out puzzles, which are the hottest, which were the sort of hottest thing this week, the big Halloween event. You put out a news program, which was one of the 2 best news programs, in the game for the week. And you put out one of the most awesome systems to visit, and just a funny little silly, hey, this is cool, look, watch me get abducted by an alien. That I challenge anybody in any of the streams. Tell me now, who put out better content that this week?
Oh, and the week is not over. There's a video tomorrow as well.
Beautiful. So that is my argument why Down to Earth, Astro, Dave, whatever you call him, his faces needs to be one of his face, singular, needs to be one of the faces on the Mount Rushmore of Elite Dangerous, right up there with Burr, and a couple other, including of course Obsidian Ant, including Plater, including some of the other giants of the game. All right. Astro, what did I leave out? What did I miss?
I think content-wise, it's pretty much, that is all. It's been a busy week. And again, some of the videos have been like small bonus things, like the stream highlights. Something I do if something extraordinary happened during a live stream, like that. It was not a planned thing, but like a Thargoid shows up and begins to suck up the meta alloys, and like, how can you not fly yourself in harm's way and see what happens?
Absolutely. So that is great stuff. So we're going to jump right ahead, and I'm going to use this opportunity because I want to get you in on a lot of the tinfoil hatting to come. So let's move right along to the Dark Wheel update. What's going on with the Dark Wheel? Well, things are good for the Dark Wheel. Number 1, we are in all the systems we were in. Everything's good. We've made nicey nice with the ARCC. They're good neighbors. We're good neighbors. Everybody's happy. We are pending expansion from, I'm thinking 5455. I'm just at the moment, my brain is mush, and I'm drinking vodka, so whatever. Bear with me. But we should land on November 2nd. So on November 2nd, we plan to, land somewhere. I'm not going to say where just yet, but if you've been paying attention, I think you know. In the meantime, we already have the next 2 expansions lined up and prepped. So we've taken this opportunity to start Operation Shinny. Operation Shinny is we're going to go back and we're going to revisit what we did in the past. What we did a little test of, seeing if we could move the needle in Shinrarta Desra. And moving the needle in Shinrarta Desra is a very hard thing to do because of the massive amount. I would think the most massive amount of traffic in the game, bar none. And we've started the process. I put out a plea to the masses, both in the standing orders channel and also in the forum post where we're running the project out of. And I have also designated the Black Sky Legion to do Black Ops in that system to promote that goal. And we have gone from 3 days ago, we were number 2 in the system, and we were at like 30, I don't know, 30%, maybe 30%. We are now at, where are we at? We're at like 40% in system, and we are number 1. We are also going to now see the process of doing this. You have to go through and try to pull all the levers, because Shinrarta Desra is not your average backwater Timbuktu system where you can just roll in and kind of, collect it easy. You got to work for this. You got to climb this hill, and it's a rough hill to climb. It's so rough that, in fact, we've been told it's impossible. Well, guess what? We're about to show you that you don't say that word in front of us, because that word, do not think it means what you think it means. Impossible just means that it's too hard for you, not too hard for us. We're going to do it. So what I need now, and please contact me in the Elite Week Discord if you're ready to do this. Arson, I'm going to drop a bomb on him that I'm going to have him coordinating carrier ops or fleet ops, basically the trading. But since it's out of Shinrarta, we can't actually use carrier, but he's going to hopefully agree to coordinate where we're going to give you a very specific go here and buy this and go there and sell it. And we're going to be selling to the ground stations to help boost the influence of the Dark Wheel in Shinrarta as well. We are going to, I'm thinking about asking DH397 if he will be my commander of the bounties, because I know he loves doing that, and coordinate with a bunch of people. And we will give you, do not do bounties in Shinrarta Desra. That hurts us. But do bounties right next door at 397, LHS 397, or 4979. Do bounties in one of the systems we own, and then run over and sell them at one of the assets we own, the ground stations in Shinrarta. That will help to boost us even more. And then lastly, cartographics data. I need somebody that wants to go do exploring and wants to coordinate with other explorers, and we'll say, get a bunch of cartographics data and sell it at this specific system. Again, so do not turn in bounties in Jameson's. That hurts us. Turn it in at our ground station that we own.
That could be funny, because I'm thinking that the Pilots Federation, the local branch there, is not listed as an actual faction in system, but it still counts towards BGS.
It does. We tested this already. Even
that
though
sucks.
even though the Pilots Federation is locked at 0% BGS, if you do anything in Jameson's, it goes as negative to everyone that's not the Pilots Federation. It's so weird. It's the only system. It's broken. It's weird. It's what it is. But if I can get DH397 to coordinate with a bunch of people and farm bounties out of system and bring them and sell them to our ground station, if I can get somebody to coordinate doing universal cartographics out, in the world, and then bring them and sell them to the ground station. If I can get Arson to coordinate people to buy stuff and sell it to our ground station, and I've got the Black Sky Legion, I'm coordinating that for them to do Black Ops against the other groups. And if we can get the masses to just run influence missions, INF plus for the Dark Wheel only, I'm telling you right now, we went up like 4% yesterday. We can do it. We can continue to get this going. And while we already have the other 2 expansions lined up after the expansion that we're in, we can keep this rolling, and we can prove to everyone that you can expand out of Jameson's. It's just the thing that nobody's done in forever. The only time that it was done was like 3 years ago, when there was a weird bug or a weird whatever, when they implemented some BGS change and everyone was hyper expanding out of everywhere. So people have said, oh, you can't do it out of Jameson's. The only reason why it happened out of Jameson's that once was a bug. Well, you know what? We're going to prove you wrong. We're going to do it. So I hope that everybody wants to hop on board and get going with this.
How much BGS do people, like outside the people that of course working directly for turning the wheel project? But I mean, I've been in Shinrata I think 3 or 4 times today. But I'm gone there. I bought a modules. I sold some stuff, like modules, and I left again. I didn't interact with the market, but people dumping stuff.
You were a more advanced player. You have to keep in mind there's a metric ton of players who play the game. Oh, I play for 2 hours every week, and they make their home Jamesons because it's got this stuff on sales or whatever, and they're like, oh, run a mission for these guys, and they randomly, it's just throw a dart at the wall and see where it sticks, and that's who you're doing missions for. As a result, there's so much traffic that everyone, it's basically, it's not for anyone, it's not against anyone, it's rigged to maintain the status quo. So we have to do a massive amount of fighting to just go against that to break the status quo.
Yeah.
But we can do it. We've demonstrated this week that we can do it. We've gone up by 10% in 3 days. We can do it. We can keep doing it. So we're going to do it, and we're going to just show everybody, guess what? We're going down in the history books as the people that did what you said can't be done. So that's that. Get in touch with me. If you're DH397 / somebody who really wants to do bounties, and I'll put you in touch with, I hope, I'm just randomly saying this like a dick, I hope he's like, yeah, man, I'm down for that. That's my cause. I really, really hope so. And somebody for the universal cartographic side. And then I'm just going to assume, Arson, if for any reason you don't want to coordinate doing the trade missions, say I am unable to do that, but say it in Persian. You've got 3 seconds.
It's just been voluntold.
Dabba dabba deeba dabba dabba. Super racist. We're gonna just assume that you didn't say that. All right.
I didn't say anything in Persian, so
fair, true. Next up, we've got we've got Frontier News. So let's go through the week of Frontier News, and there's a lot. Yes, absolutely, DH397. I do. Thank you, sir. All right. Frontier News, patches, changes, maintenance. So first off, on October 27th, Horizons were added to the base game. Now, non-Horizon owners just got access to SRVs, engineers, and the following ships for free. Arson, throw up that list. I'm talking about the Beluga Liner, the Dolphin, the Type 10 Defender, the Alliance Chieftain, Challenger, and Crusader, the Crate Mark II, the Crate Phantom, and the Mamba. We all take this for granted because we've all owned Horizons for forever, but see that list on the screen? Millions of people just got those access to those ships. Imagine your life if you didn't have access to those ships. Like, holy crap. That's huge, right? So, yeah. All right. In addition to that, we also have all Horizon owners got the Azure paint jobs for all ships. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. This paint job looks like absolute garbage in the promo pic. It looks like what? It's the people have been calling it, memeing on it. It's the toothpaste picture. Guess what? It actually looks good in game. Like if you there's some pictures, there's some paint jobs that they just look meh on the picture, but when you see it in 3D, it's got a very cool gleam to it. It looks very, very classy. Me personally, you know me, everybody knows I'm a fan of the Midnight Black. That's my shit. But if you're the Imperial type that likes that kind of classy, plain color, lighter, but with a nice gleam to it, imps are going to love this Azure paint job. And I think it looks cool. I'm going to throw it on some of my Imperial ships just cause. So, yeah. Now, one note, it is, or at least it was as of this morning, broken on the PS4, but Frontier is aware of this and they are working on it. Your PS4 players, wait a day or two, whatever, you'll get it. It'll be all good. There was an extended downtime on Thursday for unspecified reasons. Some people have said like, oh, it was because they were doing what do you call it? They were doing the rolling in Horizons. No, Horizons was already rolled in. First off, they added that to the code over a week ago when they accidentally gave everyone Horizons for free for an hour and a half. But in addition to that, there's the fact that it's like, no, this was something else. Now, you could say, well, what they were doing at that point was removing the stuff for base game so that it's all rolled in together. But I logged in today and tested it, and you still have the option to log into base game and Horizons right now. So it wasn't that. You could make the argument that it was this stuff with the you know, what do you call it, the Halloween event. Maybe, I don't know. You could make the argument that they were trying to work on server stability issues with all of these crate orange sidewinders, WAV adders, whatever that have been going on. Maybe you could say that they were trying to work on that pulse wave analyzer. You know, we've got 7, 8 now, like what, 7.5, 8 weeks of that being an issue. I don't know. They haven't really stated what it was for per se. So we're still waiting to see. What I can tell you is that post that extended downtime, which was longer than it even was supposed to be, they had some kind of issues. Post that, CQC matching was borked. It broke CQC matchmaking. So I don't know. Hopefully they've gotten on it by now. I haven't checked today. I was getting the show notes together ready, but if not, hopefully it'll be over the weekend. But I think as the community sort of, look, you can do one of two things. MMOs, when they add new shit, they break stuff. That's the way it's just so crazy interdependent and complicated. And this game, more than any other MMO that I can think of. So you've got two options. If you want everything absolutely stable and never to break, you're not getting any new stuff. Live with it. Or if you're like me and you want new stuff, you just have to be a little patient sometimes where it's like, oh, CQC is borked. Okay, fine. I'll get to it in a couple days. I'll do other stuff. Oh, pulse wave analyzers are borked. Okay, that one's a little harder to justify. It's been for like 7 weeks now, but like they know it. They know about it. They're working on it. But we've seen stuff where the mining issue is so crazy complicated. I don't know, man. And there's a lot of stuff. They're juggling a lot of balls right now. So what I'm saying is, if you want new stuff in the game, like I do, try and be a little patient. And there's so many things to do that if your Azure paint job isn't showing up right now because you're on PlayStation 4, pick another paint job and give it a little time and know that they've already publicly stated they know about it. They're working on it. They will get to it. Promise. All right. And let's stop right there and get everybody's opinion on stuff. And it's occurring to me now that I was remiss. I did not explain to Down to Earth before that what we do is in the recording booth channel, we put a dot if you want to make a comment on any of the sections. So I'm going to start right off the bat by just offering to Down to Earth. Do you have any commentary on the patches, the rolling in, the downtime, the new ships, all of that stuff?
I'm 99% certain that the downtime we saw on Thursday was the introduction of the Halloween event.
I think so too.
I hope there might have been other things. I mean, if things are broken here and there, if things break after a patch, it's often an area where you can then begin to look. So what did they change since something broke there? But I mean, we know for a fact that now, spoiler warning a little bit, there is a base that is part of the event. And that base was not there before the downtime. After the downtime, that it was there. So some things regarding the event has at least been added during that downtime.
Absolutely. Roy, I know you had something you wanted to ask.
Well, first I was going to say I was half hypnotized looking at this paint job on Arson's ship. He just took a moment and put it on the Python he's flying. It looks amazing.
And it looks like crap in the picture, but it looks really good in real life. It's one of those where picture doesn't do it justice. Yeah.
Yeah, and that list of ships was a shock for me. I had no idea those were locked. I mean, I guess it's obvious now, but That's like 80% of the ships I've been flying for 8 or 9 months. So wow, so happy for everyone that didn't have that. They're gonna have a lot of fun now, and have access to all kinds of, theory crafting and coming up with ship designs. And I'd point them at a lot of Astro's great videos on theory crafting different ships. There's some great ones just from what's on this list here. So
Yeah, 100%. Cannot agree more. All right. So, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we just take for granted because it's like, oh, well, we've always had it. And it's like, yeah, no, there's a lot of new people that they get it. And there's a lot of us that get it now on an alt where it's like, well, I didn't buy that for the alt. I don't really need for it. Well, you got it now. So get into it. Right on.
I actually think it's interesting that now that we have this Halloween event going on, a lot of the stuff is happening planet side. So for all the people who were playing non-Horizons and all of a sudden got Horizons for free, now have the option to go out, and they have this, what I think is a pretty awesome event. It's kept me engaged pretty much all week, and I still have lots and lots of questions that I haven't answered yet. But again, a lot of it is planet side, so it really gives new Horizon players a good chance to go out and try their brand new SRVs.
Awesome. Absolutely. 100%. Also, we had this week under the heading of newsletter / store update / sales. First off, Elite is on sale right now for $7.50 American, or if you're living in the Great Britain area, it's 5 GUINNYQUIDS, 5 of Her Majesty GUINNYQUIDS. I think that's the money you guys use, right? Yeah. Also, we have a store update. Number one, from now until November the 2nd, there is Halloween stuff in the store. And you can see in that picture right there on the screen, they include go back to the other one. They include the bats. They include the little scarecrow guy. They include the little tombstone with the waving arm. It's the little skull guy there with the little skull and the crossbones there. It also includes the pumpkin lights that are running across there, and not in this picture, but it's there. Little skull lights, little white, bright skull lights. These are only available from the 26th of October to the 2nd of November. So if you want them, get them. Coming on November the 2nd, we're transitioning from White People Halloween to Dia de la Muerte.
Oh my God.
And Dia de la Muerte is, put that picture up now, Arson, is the Day of the Dead in Latin cultures. And actually, I'm going to be honest with you, these look way cooler to me. These bobbleheads, these 3 Dia de la Muerte,
Those are sweet. Yeah.
look super, super cool. I'm a huge fan of all of that stuff. And I'm definitely getting those the day those come out. So that'll be from November 2nd to November 9th. So make sure that you grab them when they're available. Now, I want to point out that I've heard from some people like, oh, this ARC stuff, these things are expensive. This bobblehead is expensive. This light is expensive. This thing is expensive. Okay. Look at that. Let's examine that for a second. Let's take a quick look at the ARC store. So you can buy 100,000 ARCs for $44 or 44.99 British pounds sterling, or $58.03. Today's exchange rate is $1.29 to 1 British pound sterling. So 44.99 GUINNYQUIDS, or $58.03 for 100,000 ARCs. Now, the ARCs per British pound sterling is 2,022.72 ARCs for 1 British pound sterling. The ARCs per dollar is 1,723.24 ARCs per dollar. The bobbleheads and the lights are basically the same price. The bobbleheads are 6,450 ARCs. The lights, the string lights, are 6,570 ARCs, but it's close enough that I didn't feel like doing the math twice. So if you want to buy a bobblehead or the light, it's £2.90 British pound sterling, or $3.74. The decals are 150 ARCs. So it's 6 pence British pound sterling and 8 cents US dollars. 8 pennies. Keep in mind, you get 400 ARCs a week capped for free for just playing the game. Now, it's entirely up to you. If you're like, meh, I don't like this one, I'm not buying it. Okay, you do you, boo. Knock yourself out. But I want to point out the fact that for me personally, I don't really give a shit about, oh, this, bat, this little arm coming out of a tombstone, this little skull, this little whatever. I look at the entire ARC store, and I'm not telling you you have to look at it this way. This is just how I look at it. I look at the entire ARC store is I'm voting with my dollars. If Frontier is sucking at putting out a good game, I don't care what it is. I'm not buying your stuff, dude. I'm not giving you money. If Frontier is knocking it out of the park, I'm buying everything you're selling. I don't care. Just because I'm voting with my dollars. I'm showing you, if you give me A, I will give you B. Frontier, I wrote a whole forum post about, like, please bring back stories, Galnet and whatnot, and makes cool stuff. I asked them to do a thing. They did a thing and then some. I went out this week and I bought all of those stupid little bobblehead things just because it's like a voting with my dollars. You do whatever you want. If you don't want them, you don't have to get them. If you do want them, it's like $3. Get them. Knock yourself out. It's not expensive. It's cheap compared to other games. And you're not paying anything per month. So why don't we start with Down to Earth? I know you had a question about or a statement about the Horizons thing.
No, I don't know if it's, I don't think it's something that's that much in, but I've seen there are some people, and it might be I think it's a very small minority of very vocal people who are mad that that Horizon is free. Because, okay, so the argument they put forward is they paid for Horizons, and now all of a sudden they're giving this away for free. Where the obvious counter argument is, yes, you paid for Horizon and you have access to Horizons for 4 years, something like that. Including, I can't remember how long it's been now, but a lot. You have access to a lot of stuff for a very long time. And now Frontier is just saying this product is now getting, it's not obsolete, but it's now just getting phased into the new game, which is obviously because they need to have people playing on Horizon in order to make them being able to even buy into Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and this is people that this is people that were, that they basically, if you amortize how much they paid, they were paying like a third of a penny per 5 hours, and they're like, hey, I bought this car 5 years ago, I'd like to sell it back to you for full value now.
Yeah, I think that exact argument was actually used. Like, if you go out, you buy a car, and then you drive it, you use it for 5 years, and then like a new model of the car comes out, so they say, oh, the old model of the car is now cheaper. Or a phone. Phone is maybe even a better option. Like,
yeah,
you buy the latest whatever phone, and then like 2 years down the line, new model is out, and you wouldn't expect to get the full value back for your own phone.
You know what else you wouldn't expect?
Get anything for it.
You wouldn't expect for the phone company to go, oh, by the way, here's a whole bunch of free paint jobs for like 40 different ships. Here's a little something for you.
Here's a free cover for your old phone for thanking you. Yeah. I think it's like the paint jobs is a very nice gesture from Frontier to give something to the people. Also, of course, just to encourage people to go out and actually maybe buy Horizons if they have it. If they wanted those paint jobs, I think it was a decent deal. And the fact that they now put Elite, which will then include Horizons, that is both games, at a very, very significant discount. I mean, just means we're getting a lot of new people in who may or may not stick around with the game. I hope they do, because there's a lot of interesting stuff both happening right now and in the very, very near future.
100%. Arson, why don't you tell me about voting with your dollars?
I just wanted to reinforce the point. We have one of, if not, in my opinion, the most amazing MMOs available. Definitely the largest real game world. And we don't have a subscription fee.
No.
So I just want to hammer that detail home. If you want to see more content, vote with your dollar. Give Frontier some money, especially if you, bought Elite at a sale price, things like that.
Mm-hmm. You know what? Vote with your dollars right now. Go out and buy the $60, $50, $58, whatever ARC set, and sit on those 100,000 ARCs, because next month in November, Black Friday sale.
Oh yeah.
Lots of stuff on sale, and the only time that you can get Midnight Black. I own it for every ship and the SRV. I own it for everything that you can buy it for, even the Cobra Mark IV, which I will never be able to get because I just love that paint job that much that I wanted to make a crazy statement. So I made it. I voted with my dollars. All right. Next up, we've got streams. Now, here's the streams that they did this week. First off, there was no stream on Tuesday. They were doing stuff. They said, hey, we're not doing a stream today. We're dealing with the whole Horizons roll-in thing. You understand? I understand, whatever. They did 2 streams, though, this week. The first one was a hilarious. It released Thursday early in the morning American time, like I think mid-afternoon Englandy time, ye olde England. And it was a hilarious, funny Anchorman skit in which this was the start of the Benedettisance. First off, they were back in the studio. The group was in, and Art had to drive in from home, and Bruce had to drive in from home, and they both live not that far away from it. Steven, during their whole, the business is locked down, you work from home, he went back to the family place in Scotland. He drove 13-hour plus round trip, 6.5 hours plus, plus down, and then he had to go 6.5 hour plus back, I assume, the next day. I hope he got a place to take a nap before he drove back, but he did 13 plus hour round trip so that he could be there for this. Okay, that is not your standard, well, I'm doing the minimal effort. That is hero mode shit. Steven drove the 6.5 hour plus down so that they could record their Anchorman skit, and then he knocked it out of the park. Everybody was good, but Steven was the best. He was like a crazy, mentally whatever weatherman that, it was just so perfect. And all of them, it was home run for Bruce with his movable mustache, home run for Art with his whole thing about I don't believe in aliens, you silly. Just, it was so good. The link is in the show notes. Go, if you have not seen it, I'm sure you have, but if by some miracle you have not seen it, go see this. This is the funniest, cleverest, whatever little 6-minute skit that any community management team for any of the games that I've played, whether it's, WoW or Final Fantasy or Albion or Eve or whatever. This actually, Eve did some stuff that rivaled this with, HTFU and some other stuff that they've done, but this was amazing. Go see it. Then a couple hours later, they put out their real stream, which was the SuperCruiseNews Halloween special stream, which was a 40-minute long stream in which they sat around, talked about some of the stuff. Now, this was hours later, and Steven was there for that as well. He stayed and he ran the tech, even though he wasn't even on screen for that. He ran the tech and had to deal with stuff and got it going. And again, so the stream was great. Everything was fantastic. But I want to, again, highlight the fact that I think Steven gets a lot of shit sometimes because it's like, okay, maybe he doesn't have the most hours on or skill at the mechanics of flying a ship in Elite for something. And then he'll go and do a live stream and he's trying to bounce questions and doing stuff and also fly and whatever. And everybody nitpicks at every last little thing. But that guy behind the scenes, setting up the streams, doing all of the stuff. I dealt with him today on 2 issues, and like communicative and, you know, whatever. There was even, I'm going to call myself out. There was a thing a month or 2 ago that happened that was actually my fault, but I didn't know it at the time. And I thought that, you know, sort of, he screwed me on something, and I was like, dude. And then afterwards, I felt like such a dick, because it was like I had egg on my face, because it was like, no, it wasn't. It was me. It was my technical incompetence that was the problem. Steven, quietly behind the scenes, is constantly plugging away. He's the guy that sets up the tech for all the different streams. He's the guy that is, you know, setting up the ships that they need and this, that, and the other. Art is the guy, and Art gets lots of love, and rightfully so. He's amazing, because he's the guy that actually comes, you know, he's the guy that comes through with the big whatever. But Steven is the guy that is quietly setting stuff up in the background, and it's so good. And you know what? We're gonna just call an audible here. Arson, play that video. It's too good not to. We're gonna take a 6-minute watch this thing and laugh.
This is the Channel 4 News team reporting for SuperCruiseNews. I'm your host, Ron Tomey.
And I'm Bruce Fantana.
And I'm Block Benedetti.
This way, Block.
And I'm this way.
On tonight's show, Raxler, is a discovery just around the corner? Onion Head, is it really that bad for you? We interview Ethel Moonshot. She claims to have caught the winking cat. What do you think? We also interviewed Don Antonacci, the supposed mastermind behind the buckyball racing rigging scandal. Now there's a mouthful. And finally, something I personally been working on for a long time. Thargoids and Guardians, fact or fiction? The answer may indeed surprise you.
Ron, no, it won't. We know they're real.
Aliens, that's impossible.
No, Ron, we've talked about this. We've seen the Guardian sites and Thargoids live.
I don't believe you.
Ron, they definitely do.
We'll have to agree to disagree. But first, before all of that, over to Block and the weather.
Thanks, Ron. So as you know, the galaxy's quite a big place. So we picked this system, and you can see here it's quite warm because it's the sun. And the further we move to this direction, there's this rock belt.
It's an asteroid belt, Block.
Like a belt that holds up the trousers in space. And it's a bit colder. And then as we move further down, it's a bit colder. And then it gets really cold over this area, and even colder here, because it's space. Back to you, Ron.
Thanks, Block, for the weather report. Insightful as always. Remember, kids, if you're in space, wear a scarf. Now, Bruce, have you changed your mustache?
I don't want to talk about that, Ron.
Oh, okay. Well, we've discussed Raxler before, but Bruce, what if I told you I could tell you exactly what Raxler was, where it was, and how to get there?
Ron, I would be astounded. In fact, I've already soiled myself just at the thought of it.
I wondered what that aroma was. It's quite pungent. Well, I can tell you this. Raxler is in fact in the...
Sorry, Ron, hang on. This just in. I'm getting a direct message from our sources saying that something big is happening over in the Chuck Chan system.
Chuck Chan, you say, Bruce. Chuck Chan. I know that name. I think I studied there. It's famous for martial arts and doing their own stunts. I'm fairly certain it's
Ron, no, that's the Jackie Chan system. I'm talking about the Chuck Chan system.
Chuck Chan, of course, his brother.
So I'm hearing there's an abandoned megaship that's just been discovered by the local system security that's been floating through there for 200 years, Ron.
200 years? That's almost like 2 centuries.
Almost, Ron, almost. So apparently it was on collision course for Chuck Chan 5B. We're going to have people heading over there now. It's been confirmed that the name of the megaship is the Adamastor.
Adamastor. I believe, if my ancient Greek is correct, it means 2 penguins whistling in the night.
Almost, Ron, almost. It's the dangers of the sea is the rough translation.
Ah, well, tomato, tomato.
The original destination of the megaship is in fact unknown, so we're going to send our crew out there and see what we can find.
Do we think this is linked to the strange fan mail I've been receiving?
Ron, that's not fan mail, that's a binary code that we received over the past 3 days.
I'm not sure you can say that anymore.
Ron, binary is in ones and zeros.
Of course, yes. Well, I thought it was fan mail. I was throwing them in the bin. There a lot of them. It was like junk. It's like the flyers you get from the post. How they find me, I don't know. I keep moving house. It's nothing to do with the money I owe.
The binary code that we received, in fact, may be related to this audio bite that we've just received. It's not clear what the source is, but possibly it's all related. Can we roll that clip?
This is Dr. Murphy reporting. I'm a geologist, part of Professor Carver's planetary survey team, but I think they're all dead.
I believe I've just defecated in my pants, and worryingly, I'm not wearing any pants. I think it's our duty as news reporters to investigate this further, so please join us as always, the Channel 4 news team for Super Cruise News tonight at 7:30 UTC, live on this channel, where we'll find out exactly what's happening at the Adam Master. See you then. You should probably get a cleaner for this.
Fixed.
No sound to Twitch. All right.
Yeah, there was no sound at all. I'm sorry.
All right, going back. Let's sorry.
But just as people saying chat, silent running.
yeah. All right. So next up we have Galnet articles. Starting off, October 26, Congress votes to accept the Marlinist immigrants over the objections of President Trump, Zach Hudson, who said that he thought some of them were brown and they should go back. And Congress said, no, we don't like you anymore, so we're going to take them in. October 27th, terrorist hit squad targets Hadrian Duval. Interesting stuff. That's odd. The Marlinists want to get rid of the Duvals that are running the empire in this corrupt fashion. So what they do is they attack a bunch of the people that the emperor's ALD, Arissa Lavinia Duval does not like, and they leave her be. Yeah, seems legit. I'm not at all skeptical hippo eyes on that one. October 29th. Okay, just also for the record, because people said, oh, well, Hadrian lived. The article says he was in guarded whatever, and that it was critical and whatever. I wouldn't be so sure. Let's wait and see how that plays out. October 29th, supplies for the Marlinist refugees successfully delivered. Big salute to everybody. I was out there trying to hype it as much as possible. I was in the top 10 commanders, according to I was in the top 25%, but we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, big salute to everybody that did it. They both got to level 3. Good deal. October 30th, this just in, hot off the presses, as of like 2 hours ago. The Empire and the Federation are starting to clash over the Marlinists. The Empire is saying, you need to give those people back now. We suspect that they're bad dudes. And the Federation Jordan Rochester, the ex boy toy of one Ashling Duval, is saying, "Yo, bro, come at me." I might have paraphrased that just a little bit. So we'll see. It's looking like things are heading towards a warlike footing between the Empire and the Federation. So interesting stuff. All right, community goals section. Right off the bat, last week's community goals, let's talk about it. So the goals concluded with success level 3 for both the hauling and the bounty hunting CGs. Note the payout, there's a discrepancy. Everyone, no matter what level you did that I've talked to, got a notice saying, even if they were in the top 75%, they got a notice saying they were in the top 10 commanders. So everyone got max payout for both if you participated in either. Frontier is aware of this. I've spoken with them today. They're aware of this. They are looking into it. They have no further comment at this time. So this is not their statement. This is my statement. It's going to be one of two things. Either A, they're going to be magnanimous and say, hey, everybody gets to keep the extra. Bank balance error in your favor. Collect $100. Get the pass go, whatever. Yeah, all right, congrats. Here's some extra cheddar for nothing. Or
what was the reward for being in top 10? Not top 10%, just top 10 million, I think.
Yeah, it was whatever.
I mean, it's...
Or, so there's option B. Option B is they do what the bank really does when they make a bank balance error, which is find the error, and they'll go back and subtract that money from your account in the next couple of days or whatever. And if that happens, so what? It's a couple million, and it wasn't your money anyways. You weren't planning on having it. It is what it is. No big deal either which way. However they handle it, they'll handle it, and we'll move on with life. The more important thing is that the message, the sort of the story we showed Frontier story-wise, that we care about the Marlinists, even when there wasn't awesome missile racks in it for us. People did stuff for it, and that's good. I think, me personally.
One thing I never understood about that specific community goal was the faction you had to collect bounties for only owned that system. They were present in other systems, but they were the only system where they were the controlling factions. And there were only low-intensity conflict zones, and then there were the installations you could do.
Yep.
I feel like the attempt was to kind of encourage people to go out and do some of the installations, because I feel like it's an underused part of the game at the moment, which I can totally understand. One of the problems that we had on my Discord when we were running it is when you're running around an installation, you're shooting people, it is so easy. If you miss with your long-range beam laser, they have so long range, they will hit the station behind them. And then you get a bounty. You get a bounty right away. There's no... I mean, a while back, when Frontier introduced this, they relaxed the rules for misfires so that you didn't get an immediate bounty by hitting a friendly target if you had someone else targeted. That rule does not apply for installations. If your long-range beam miss its target and hit the station behind it, you're now wounded, and everybody that saw it's gonna come after you.
You know what I did? I actually never went to those installations. I signed up for that, and then I just took my time when I was coming back with a cutter load of stuff, and I kept getting interdicted by pirates and killing them, and that put me in a nice safe place where I didn't have to worry about hitting an installation.
Yeah,
Arson, you had a question on the beams?
Not a question, but a statement. Yeah, if you are concerned about crime and punishment, and you're fighting around some kind of asset, turreted weapons are immune to crimes from misfires when the weapon hits something that you are not actively targeting. They are fantastic for fighting around installations. They are also fantastic for fighting around stations. Just don't fire them inside the station interior. You will still die. That's all.
It was more of a question. We got to level 3 on called the charity drive, and they mentioned that there was enough things shipped for 3 of the systems. Nothing was said about the others, though, was it?
Correct. Nothing was said about the other two systems. we'll see how the story plays out as this progresses. This week, we don't have a CG. I think that it's very seriously sort of intended that this week everyone will spend the week doing the Halloween event. Now, the Halloween event, just to be for clarity purpose, that doesn't go away. That's a permanent thing that's in the game forever to enjoy. But this week, that's what sort of. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, it is permanent in a sense that I don't think that ship is necessarily going to be removed. But I don't know how much spoilers I should put in now. But there is a piece of information you need to obtain in the starting system that I don't expect will be there permanently.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. Right now, we're going to go into the spoiler section. Arson will put up a picture. You pick any picture that you want, Arson, when the spoiler section is done. But we're going to avail ourselves of Down to Earth, who did an amazing stream where he looked through the mystery. So why don't we do our fully spoilered section? I'm warning you now, if you don't want to hear this stuff, pause. Don't play this until you're done with the thing. And skip ahead to where you see Arson put up a picture of Arson will aim right at the sun. And
I'll put this guy back up. This was a little tribute to Asteroids.
Yes.
Asteroids.
When you see "Hello, boys, I'm back," then you can whatever. And in the show notes in the podcast version, there will be a thing that will just say like jump ahead to this point. All right, full spoiler zone. Down to Earth, why don't you walk us through the whole process of this mystery?
Yes, so the whole thing, of course, started earlier this week with some of the binary pictures being uploaded one at a time to Instagram. We got a total of 9 pictures of binary code with there's been a lot of discussion back and forth with the different colors or the different light intensity and the different numbers if that had any meaning, but I've seen nothing conclusive come out of that. But if you decrypt the whole thing, all 9 frames, you get the message saying, Coalsack Nebula, the stones, he keeps watching the stones. And at first, the whole stone part, didn't know what that was. Everybody rushed out to the Coalsack to try and figure out what's going on up there. Now, the Coalsack Nebula is a relatively small area. It's not that many systems in that area, so it's relatively easy to explore. Then yesterday on Thursday, the actual event happened. We saw that live stream from Frontier that we saw just earlier, the little news anchor skit they did. And we also got a GALNET article saying that a derelict megaship has been drifting through space for like 200 years and has now arrived in the COOKSON system. With that article, we also got some information that they tracked the direction that the ship was coming from, and they named, I think, 2 or 3 systems. I think 3 systems that is passed close by. So we could kind of get a feeling for what direction that ship has been coming from when it was drifting into system. If you went to one of the stations in system, you would also be able to pick up a local news article where there was a local investigator who has been investigating this ship, and he managed to pull some information regarding the flight plan, the original flight plan of the ship when it originally launched 200 years ago. That news article, I'm not sure will stay there forever, and that's why I'm saying that there is some really, really important key information in that post that you need in order to get this thing started, and I don't think that's going to be there forever. So that's something people will have to go and look up later if they actually want to start this event.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say there are several news articles that used to be in place for treasure hunts in the past, and they are now no longer in the game. So that is a completely correct establishment.
But in that local news article, what they did state there was they noticed the ship, like I said, the ship is going to go have fuel for this many light years, and it was going through that system and that system. So basically what you do is you then go to the ship itself, and you scan the log from the ship, and you get some information about that it jumped to that its first stop on the system was I think it was a K-class system with 11 bodies. So basically what you do is you go and you say, oh, we have that system, that is this distance, next system is that distance, so we have this many light years of fuel left, and we know they're heading towards the Barnard's loop because that was stated as well. So you kind of see what kind of was it M or K class stars, I can't remember, was in that direction that had 11 bodies, and lo and behold, there's a listening post that was originally broken, but is now working, and it gives out some gibberish that has not been solved yet, to my knowledge, at least at the time of this recording. And we've been working on it. I have, together with a lot of people on my Discord, been working on it all day, and we have not managed to crack it yet. But there is some other things with the megaship that has not. There's a little puzzling that's new, and that is if you go to the rear end of the megaship, there are 3 patches that has been repaired with some kind of foam. You can shoot that foam with a laser that burns off the foam, revealing a hull patch, a new targetable object on the megaship, like a hull breach that you can go and now target. And if you scan that hull breach, you get a docking point for a repair limpet, and you can now launch a repair limpet that will then fly up and spray new foam and basically close up that hole again. It doesn't give you anything new information, but I've never seen repair limpets act that way, and I've tried everything with those. I've been shooting torpedoes into them. I've been shooting subsurface displacement missiles, seismic charges. I've been trying to do damage to them with lasers and kinetic weapons, just nothing. So that's a dead end. Yeah.
Have you tried giving it a hug?
I haven't tried to bump it yet. Maybe I should do that. But so right now we have a dead end with the listening post that we don't know. But luckily, one of the other things we also know that the fleet carrier, the megaship, came back to Chokchan, where it also started from, and we know what direction it came from those systems in the GALNET article.
Mm-hmm.
And we know also from the ship log that you can scan that the last system it visited was an A-class star. Luckily, A-class are really rare, so if you can kind of go in that direction, and you can find that it points you pretty much directly to an A-class star. If you go to that system, you will then find a crashed Sidewinder. But in this point, we're kind of solving the puzzle backwards, because I believe we're supposed to solve that listening post, and that was going to, and I think that will lead us to the base out in the Witchhead Nebula.
Yes.
Witchhead, sorry, in the Colsec Nebula.
Yes.
That was actually found by accident already. And that thing has a lot of information regarding. Remember, this is 200 years ago, where they seem to have encountered a crashed Thargoid and barnacles. There's a lot of barnacles out there. And they seem to have captured something. And what exactly they captured is uncertain. We know that it's corrosive, so it's definitely Thargoid tech. But it could be a probe, but it could also be an actual living Thargoid, like the actual, like not just a part of the ship or a module from the ship, but the actual Thargoid has also been theorized.
So let me ask you a couple questions. And these are things that occurred to me. First off, I'm wondering, because so in the live stream, the second stream, the non-skit, the serious stream that Frontier did yesterday talking about the event, Arthur told me specifically stated, man, there's a couple things. He was like, man, there's one thing that I'm surprised nobody's talking about just yet. And there's a couple things that come to my mind. The first is this. I'm wondering if we're meant to sort of be discussing the fact that we have information sort of that indicates, I mean, sort of INRA or someone doing INRA-like activities being active in 3111 when INRA wasn't officially formed until 3125. Maybe it's a precursor to INRA or something. There's people out there doing stuff. What are your thoughts on that?
I think what he's referring to there, he also mentioned that there was something on the megaship that hasn't been discussed at that point. I think what he's referring to there is the foam on the rear engines. That wasn't really discussed much at that point because everybody was just, okay, we got the log. The second thing that I think that we actually only just today began to discuss is when you look at the flight plan, it says, okay, we're leaving on this date, and then there's an empty day where the log entry is not there, right? We have the day that we know there's a log entry on that day, but we don't have any data in that log entry. We have it on screen now here on the 28th. And then we see on the 29th, it arrives at the listening coast. So the question is, where did it stop on the 28th and what did it do there? So it did something between Chukchan and the listening post. It stopped somewhere along those routes. And we know 2 systems that it did stop in. And I've been through those systems and I have scanned every single body. And I've been within 1,000 light years of every single body. That's those 2 systems to check if there was anything there, and turned up with nothing so far.
So here's the other thing that occurs to me. And again, this might be tinfoil hatting harder than whatever, but it just occurs to me the fact that it would seem to indicate that this incident represents the actual first contact between humans and Thargoids.
Oh yeah.
With the possible exception of whatever the hell the unknown alien threat that the Federation president drove off or claimed to drive off in 2867. That was never cleared up if that was meant to represent Thargoids or something else, or if it was a PR lie. But the official timeline for from Elite Dangerous says that in 2867, there was a president named Olaf Smith. He sends a federal fleet to investigate after several traders disappear in Zaleda. When more traders disappear in Kukuve and Aimai, the Federation fortifies the Leda system with a major military hub to defend against apparent, quote, alien threat. Smith claims that he was driving away the alien threat, and that makes him super popular with the populace. It's never proven if that was Thargoid or alien activity behind the disappearances. Smith's actions result in the enhancement of the Federal Navy and go a long way towards the restoring of public trust in the presidency following the corrupt Galen administration decades. Later, there's a pirate known as the Black Prince, and he claims that he was the one responsible for the attacks, not aliens, and the attacks were only stopped because he and his cohorts retired. The Black Prince's story is widely disputed, but some assert that his claims are simply exaggerated version of what is a sort of true story. So, with the one exception of that possibility, which I think, I can't prove it, but I think that it is explained by this pirate that had nothing to do with Thargoids. Other than that, this would definitely be Thargoid first contract according to everything that is known in the timeline now. What do you think, Down to Earth?
Yeah, I think this may be at least the first now confirmed case. When you have that one there that you mentioned that might be, it's one of it may be, we don't know, perhaps it was an earlier one, but this would definitely be the first one where we can almost say for certain, yes, this was a Thargoid encounter.
This is the first confirmed Thargoid encounter, because this for sure was Thargoid. The question, I think that's not confirmed is if it was first, but we think it was.
There could be absolutely no doubt that this is Thargoids. We've been down there, we've seen the crash sites, we've seen the barnacles, we even know that there are still Thargoids in the area. Like actual working Thargoids, not just wrecks. So yes, absolutely.
Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I had my heart set that this Halloween event was going to be big, the Thargoids reinvade and whatever. And I was promoting the idea everywhere. I was saying like this, I feel it in my bones. Okay, I was wrong. It happens. But looking at this now, I was like, because people were saying, well, it could be, a ghost ship or whatever. And I was like, no, man, they're not going to do ghost ship this year. They'll do ghost ship next year, because next year we'll be able to get around in leggy mode and walk around on the ghost ship, and it'll turn into a haunted house, and it'll be awesome. This year they're going to do Thargoids. It didn't happen, but maybe it did. Maybe what we're getting here isn't just because Art made some specific comment, more or less to this effect, in the series stream they did yesterday, where he said, look, this is not only a Halloween event, but this is important to the overall story. This fits in as a piece of the overall. This isn't a one-off This isn't an episode of, I don't know, whatever, some show from the 80s. This isn't an episode of Cheers or what's that show? Oh, Family Guy, where random shit happens, and then at the end of the episode, it's like, okay, and reset, and now the next episode is like nothing happened.
Yeah, it's not a status quo event. This is gonna have, exactly.
This has ramifications for the overall lore of the whole Thargoid human interaction within the canon of canonical of Elite Dangerous. So maybe this is laying down some groundwork for something big that maybe the people along the spectrum of Halt and Malik VR and whatever who are saying, like, we were the antagonizers of the Thargoids, not the other way around. Maybe this justifies them in some way. Maybe this leads to something we find out which leads to some new big bad Thargoid that we have to fight. Maybe this leads to that Thargoid megaships, or maybe this leads to a renewed invasion of a higher level, or maybe this leads to some Thargoid, if not homeworld per se, but some Thargoid base world. Just like we found Guardian ruins all over the place. What if we found some Guardian ruins, some Thargoid ruins that have actual walking around Thargoids on them in, I don't know, 3 months or so, when, I don't know, maybe we're walking around on planets. Like, this could be very, very important for the overall sort of lore and whatnot of the game, I think.
I'm getting more and more, after some people mentioned it during the live stream I did yesterday, that what they have found, I always assume, okay, they found a probe, right? I mean, it took a probe, it corroded the ship, everything went haywire. I'm getting more and more, I'm beginning to subscribe more and more to the idea that what they find was not a probe, but was an actual Thargoid. They do mention it briefly. Sorry?
Living?
Yeah, an actual living Thargoid, not the full interceptor, but that, because they mentioned they put it in a cage, and then later they try to like build a container around it with like full on bulkheads. But at first they put it in a cage, and they do mention in one of the logs, they say they don't know exactly what it is they have pulled out of the crash ship, whether it's the pilot or a part of the ship. So they're a little uncertain what it is.
See, imagine though that it's a probe, for example, just as an example. It could be a link, it could be a probe, could be anything. But imagine that it's a probe. When I first came across a probe in game, it's like, okay, it's just a thing. But then it starts giving you that predator rattle, and shit starts shaking and getting all timey-wimey, interdimensional, gets all like wavy, around it. And you're like, is this thing alive? Is this... You know what I mean? Like, if you showed an iPhone to somebody from the dark ages, and all of a sudden I put on a video or whatever, they're going to be like, "Oh, there's a little man on that thing." Like, you're not sort of qualified to, So it could be they're seeing a probe, but they're seeing things that to them are like, I think this thing's moving, it's talking, it's making noises, it's alive, it's whatever.
But it just from the sound clips that we have, it just sounds like this thing is. At least if it's a probe, it's a very, very angry probe. That thing is making aggressive noises that I have maybe not even heard from interceptors when they get mad at you. This thing is angry, like beyond angry. That's why I'm beginning to think, okay, could this be an actual Goid, like a living Thargoid? It would make, if you look at it from a meta perspective, it would make so much sense that we now get this first seed of getting Thargoids in the flesh. So, I don't know.
Kind of like Independence Day, where they go to Area 51, and they find that there's actually like, oh yeah, we've had one of these aliens locked up in a whatever. Yeah, that could be weird. All right, cool. So that covers that, and that covers the tweet series of tweets that we got, and Instagram pics or whatever.
Yes.
So that covers the...
And if people are wondering, the whole he's watching the Stones, we got confirmation that is one of the crew members who lost his mind, and what they're referring to as the stones are the barnacle sites.
Yeah.
So it's not. So that has been solved. That whole thing we kind of know. We know why they have the coal sack. So the main mysteries that are still to be solved is that listening post. What does that message mean? And then a small secondary thing for me is, what's up with those hull breaches? Are we missing something there? Those are the two things that I think I'll be focusing on right now. The rest of it, I think we kind of got that down.
Okay, awesome.
If I could chime in real quick, the hull breaches, those are not new. A few weeks ago, we actually covered and showed a little bit of a footage from hull breaches on Thargoid attack ships that people could actually repair with repair limpets. To my knowledge, though, this is the first time that we have seen something where the hull breaches are already repaired, and you know, you could see it. I actually drove up to him. I'm trying to get to the ship now so I can show it on stream, but it is not new and unique to this particular one, with exception of the fact that maybe it is with regards to already being repaired before you get there.
Well, also the fact that it's on a mega ship that is a generation ship that is part of a special event with the puzzle we're trying to figure out. So that, I mean, that makes it unique in that. So we've seen before.
Is this a generation ship?
For example, Frontier had to figure out how to do SLF so that they could do the Thargon Swarm or whatever. Like, it could be that thing that we saw that they were doing before, where they had those patches, they needed to test it on assets or whatever before they put it in on this thing. So it could still be, you know, very, very relevant. But it may not, because I didn't actually know that we had this before. I've never encountered them before. But if we've seen these before, then I'm less likely to think that they have something special to do with this event. They may just be there for, it's a damaged mega ship. There's got to be hull breaches, right? Yeah. It's interesting though.
But again, but the main one is still that listening post. That thing needs needs solving.
That's a mystery for sure. It's void opals, I tell you. We'll see. All right. Moving on to sort of the next thing. What we've got is the Elite Week race news, and this is sponsored by the 8-Wheel Drive Endurance Challenge that just concluded this last, actually the week before. So Arson, go ahead and throw that up there. We're going to show this. It's like a 5-minute video, because this is the end. This is the capper for the entire series, and it will be gone until, you know, hopefully they'll pick up the series again in the spring of next year. But we really want to show this. I want to highlight this. I've been a huge fan of this entire series. I don't know. Have you seen this, Arson or Astro? Have you seen any of this 8-Wheel Drive Endurance Challenge?
No, not yet.
You are in for a treat. Go ahead and play the video for 5 minutes, Arson, and let's.
This Sunday hosted the final race of the 8-Wheel Drive Endurance Championship. This final race consisted of a 2-stage rally. The first stage consisted of a 64-kilometer rally from Cube to Barreiros, and after a break and a regroup, a race back again to Cube. 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, everyone with a good start. Shay a little bit late, having to go over the red pillar as expected. OSASHES pitching down very aggressively. This first race saw Shay Blackwood taking a huge amount of risk, as he had already locked in his uncontested first place in the championship. Commanders Alec Turner and OSASHES spent the opening stages of the race battling it out for second place, with 8 more racers in pursuit, with OSASHES ultimately taking the lead by several minutes over Alec. Nearing the closing stages of the race, Shay Blackwood struggled to regain control over his SCARAB after a multitude of bad bounces, leading to his inevitable explosion with no effect on his first place in the championship. Commander Crank Larson then takes the lead of the race, nearing the finish line with as little as 6% hull remaining, and OSASHES less than a kilometer behind.
Oh, this is going to be tight, Crank.
Stopping for him was not an option, as he ultimately crossed the finish line with as little as 3% hull remaining. Only 36 seconds later, Commander OSASHES finishes the race in second place, securing at least the third place in the championship. Commander Alec Turner, opting for a safer rally this time to avoid another DNF, finally finishes in a 3rd place position as a result, not yet securing his 2nd place in the championship. Here are the results then for the first stage of the final race. Crank Larson finishes in 1st place with a total of 19 minutes, with OSASHES close behind in 2nd place with as little as 36 seconds extra on the clock. A 3rd place finish for Alec Turner with 3 minutes and 20 seconds additional. Followed by Donald Anderson, Sir Balthazar, a first-time finish for Hep, Fat Haggard, and finally Crater Camper. Terror Siddick, Shay Blackwood, and our newest racer, Mr. Piledriver, all bit the dust early. With these standings, Alec Turner failed to secure 2nd place in the first stage of the race, so he will need another good result in his 2nd stage. OSASHES could no longer lose his 3rd place position, so he focused all of his attention on trying to outrace Alec in an all-or-nothing run to snatch 2nd. 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, Alec with an early start, but then, he's going airborne very early then, and hadn't built up a lot of speed yet, so he's slow off the start, very slow off the start, with OSASHES currently taking the lead, and Alec being about 7 drivers or 5 to 7 drivers behind. The 2nd stage saw Shay Blackwood again going for it at maximum speed in mind, so the focus really was on that 2nd place finish. We see OSASHES going all out as well, trying to steal away that 2nd place from Alec. With an initial sprint, he was building up a gap to Alec, but then... With Commander OSASHES then blowing up, we have Alec Turner again on his way to secure 2nd place in the championship, which he manages to do in style.
Beautiful!
Oh, nice. Beautiful.
1% hold.
Crank Larson is next to fly his way across the finish line in 3rd place, with behind him Donald Anderson, Fat Haggard, Crater Camper, and Terror Siddick. Let's skip straight ahead to the championship standings then and see where this puts everyone. A huge congratulations to Commander Shay Blackwood for finishing in a well-deserved 1st place in the championship. Throughout the championship, Shay Blackwood demonstrated his absolute mastery of the SCARAB SRV by flying across and adapting to various terrains and gravities with impressive skill. In 2nd place, we have Alec Turner with cunning tactics to secure the safe finishing positions, paying off. 3rd is OSASHES, learning about flying and mastering the art throughout the championship. A big congratulations to all the podium finishers. Followed by the top 3, we have Skur with a 4th place finish, despite only partaking in 3 races in total. Let this be a message to all the other racers to step up their game. Crank Larson secures a 5th spot, Fat Haggard is 6th, followed by Donald Anderson, Donald 47, Terror Siddick, Crater Camper, Connor Scott, Zach Hugh, Sir Balthazar, Lusky, Kate Balthazar, Tenna and Hep, and finally Buster 335. The winners of the championship will be receiving these beautiful trophies in the mail in recognition of their incredible performances. Finally, I would like to take this quick opportunity to officially finish off this championship by saying how much I have enjoyed organizing these races. Seeing how this brings people together, forming friendships over the internet, is something I am incredibly thankful for. With that said, stay tuned for more championships organized by myself. I have all sorts of spectacular things planned in the shape of hill climbs, urban climbs, settlement races, etc. So for now, I will say, fly dangerously, Commander.
Right on. Good stuff, man. And again, I've added the acrylic schematic of the SRV that Frontier sent me. I've regifted it to Commander Shay Blackwood as the winner of the overall series. And that concludes the 8-wheel drive endurance rally challenge for this year. Hopefully, we will see another one pick up in the spring or summer of next year, because it was super, super awesome. All right. So that takes us to the Reddit list of the 30 Best tools and sites for Elite Dangerous. Arson, throw it up on the screen. You can see there the top 30 tools and sites for everything that you need to know about Elite Dangerous. And the right corner is blocked by the chat there, Arson. Yeah. So there we go. So there's Inara, ED Database, Voice Attack, ED Engineer. Going on and on. It goes all the way down to number 30, which is the Elite Week podcast, and it looks totally official and not at all sus. So, all right. So check those out. The link is in the show notes to the Reddit. Yeah, thanks. To the Elite Week isn't number 1. We're number 30. We're in the news section. We don't want to. You got to do this legitimate. This is all 100%. Every one of these are exactly legitimate and vetted. So, okay. Check it out in the show notes. Good stuff. These are, you might look at it and go like, what's ED Profiler? What's EDSY? What's, Alpha Orbital? And go look into a thing and be like, oh, that's cool. All right. I dig it. I'm learning something new. I've got a new tool. I've got something to make my time at Elite better. So get on that. Next up, we've got the Matt Ricardo. This is an old one, but he did a 2.2 ship scale video back in October of 2016 that was legitimately amazing. It starts with like a banana, and then it goes up to like a thing, and then it goes up to a guy, and then it goes up to a SRV, and then an SLF, and then a Sidewinder, and it goes all the way up to the Majestic Interdictor and the Farragut battle cruiser, and then a station. It is incredible. So check it out. The links are in the show note. Also, DataSlate episode 19 dropped this week, in which Alan Stroud with guests Kevin Elliott and Shona Kinsella. Those are three, including Alan, 3 authors. They talk about, like I said from last week's show, it's a sci-fi fantasy horror book club kind of thing, podcast that you can listen to and get cool stuff. This week they talked about the British Fantasy Awards nomination list. They talked about a Cage of Souls by Adrian Tchaikovsky, A Memory Called Empire by Arkady Martine, and Shades of Grey by Jasper Ford. Just to clarify, that Shades of Grey is not the one you're thinking of that's like housewife porn. It's this weird place where like it's like people are represented by colors, and then like some people are supposed to be sort of the inventive, imaginative types, and some people are supposed to be the smart, or like organizer, engineer types, and some people are supposed to be like the brute force workforce, drone bees. And they have all these weird rules in this society, and it's just looking at a society from a completely alien lens and saying like, oh, okay, this is an interesting, story that's told in a way that makes you question some things. It's good stuff. Check it out. The link is in the show notes. laveradio.com/dataslate-episode-19. Also this week, I want to highlight Loose Screws podcast. You can find them at anchor.fm/Loose Screws. They had a great show this week. They talked about the Spooky Fried Egg was the episode of the show. In it, they talked about the tour that the Spooky Halloween tour that Commander Awan did last week on Tuesday, where they went to a bunch of different spooky sites in lore of the game and saw lots of neat stuff. You know what? We need to circle back on something. I got so caught up in talking about the 8-wheel drive endurance challenge, I forgot. Arson, you brought something to my attention that was amazing. Why don't you cover that real quick? To be very, very clear, I'm going to jump in real quick here. Arson, I think you were muted. But just to be very, very clear, Commander OSASHES, who made this little demo or whatever, it's a little playable game that he's doing. He states very clearly in the video that he did for this, I don't own this content. This is all rights are reserved by Elite Dangerous and Frontier Developments. And I'm just making this as a fan-made thing. I'm not looking to sell it. It's just a little fan mod to have fun for those of us that love to race around in the SRV, because we love the SRV. So this is our love letter to it. I just want to be absolutely clear so that nobody gets any cease and desist or whatever, that this is, he's not looking to make any profit or do anything on it other than a love letter to the SRV. Go ahead, Arson.
Yeah, I was just going to say before I muted myself, as per the usual, apparently. It's a wonderful little standalone SRV racing experience. Has some nifty little ramps and things. It's still in early development. It is not ready for public testing yet. But it is a really, really cool little demo. This is actual gameplay that he has released in this little teaser here. This is him playing the game. And it looks like it'll be a nice, fun little experience to play with.
Yeah. A nice little racetrack, and you can set up courses and, do some death-defying jumps and whatnot. It's good stuff.
He actually got some of the physics down pretty good, I think. I mean, you can see when he does the jumps and it lands, it's not just what you may expect in this stage. It just like sticks to the ground like glue. It actually like jumps around. It looks like you could flip that thing if you wanted to.
Oh yeah, the way the back wheels bump there on the landing. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So big salute to OSASHES, who was number 3. He came in 3rd in the overall 8-wheel drive endurance race challenge, and you could tell that this guy, he knows his stuff and he loves the SRV. So wanted to share that with everybody. Next up, we have Titan Contractors. They are in the midst still. They're ongoing on their Trip Epsilon tour. It is ongoing now through November 22nd. There's a video link that is in the show notes for you to see. And there is also a Google Doc where, even though they're already ongoing, you can catch up to them if you want to catch up to them and see in the Google Doc, okay, where are the places that they're going next? What are the next spots? They're doing tours of, what the generation ships and whatnot. So go check out the Google Doc, check out the video, see if you're interested. Go take a look. And next up, we have our Elite Week Canon Interstellar Spotlight. This week, we're going to spotlight the new Canon radio podcast. They have put out another episode this week. First half of it's a fireside chat on the ongoings, in the bubble, the goings on in the bubble, the GALNET stuff and all of the different things. And they chat back and forth with their tinfoil hat theories and whatnot. And the second half is Xenobiology Special. They have a guest, Commander Crimshadow, comes in and he talks about his investigations into xenobiology and Elite. And he talks about lots of different locations that he's been and lots of different things that he's seen and what are the scariest ones. I think part of that was, kind of a little Halloween themed. What are the spookiest, weirdest, scariest? What's the stuff that haunts his dreams? And check it out. It's like a, hour and a half or whatever. If you're looking for something to throw on the second screen, check out the Canon podcast. Next up, we have Real Life Science. So let's go ahead and run through these. The first thing we've got is Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson breaking down NASA's discovery of water on the moon. He talks about what it means and whatever. And just to be clear, we're talking about water molecules on the moon. The TLDR version is that they have looked over an area of space ground-wise that is larger than a football field. And they found molecules such that if you were to harvest them and sift through all of that and get them together, you could make maybe a can of Coke worth of, a little soda can worth of water molecules that you would put together. So it's not like, don't get it wrong. It's not like, hey, just on the other side, there's waterfalls. I'm like, no, it's different, but it's interesting. It's still scientifically of note. It's noteworthy. Then we have 2 episodes of This Week at NASA. First one is 3 minits long, talks about the OSIRIS-REx success. Talk about the 3 safe returns of 1 astronaut and 2 cosmonauts coming back from the ISS. We discussed that last week. The second episode of This Week in NASA talks about the Artemis Accords that we talked to you about last week that were signed, where a group of different countries are working together on this project to get us first to the moon as a permanent base, and then onwards outward into the solar system. They talk about the water molecules on the moon that was found by Sophia. They talk about the continued success of the OSIRIS-REx, the Crew 1 launch that's scheduled for November 14th, the ISS capturing footage of Hurricane Zeta, and the fact that November 2nd marks 20 years of manned ISS missions continual. And NASA has identified a molecule on Saturn's largest moon, Titan's atmosphere, that has never been detected by any other atmosphere. It's called cyclopropenylidene. Yep, I'm smart. It is a precursor to more complex compounds that could feed possible life on Titan. Now, keep in mind, we've got a Dragonfly mission that's targeted to launch on its way to Titan in 2027. So let's keep an eye out for that. Next up, we've got a video by Scott Manley. SpaceX identifies, so he just did a fireside chat for 11 minutes. We talked about a couple of different things. The first thing is SpaceX identified an engine problem. They had a launch a few weeks back. There was a launch that SpaceX of a Falcon 9. It was supposed to launch a bunch of satellites. It was aborted at the 2-second mark by the computer. So they're there. They start the engine, the rocket fire. The first one's already gone off, and then the computer auto aborts the whole thing. They had to look into it. What the hell's going on? They found that they were getting some readings that were not proper in one of the engines. What they did, this was amazing. They took the engine down and CAT scanned it. And what they found was a clog of a little tiny infinitesimal amount of lacquer in an engine line. And that was lacquer it was red lacquer that was left over. And we're talking millimeters of red lacquer that was left over from a cleaning process that had gotten into a line that it wasn't supposed to. In the cleaning process, they had heated it to like spray it off, and it had sort of a little teeny bit of it had sort of evaporated and gone into this engine line and then solidified and was causing a problem. So SpaceX, number one, pulled that engine and took it apart and had it repaired. Number two, based on the fact that the same company did the same lacquer process on 2 other rockets, SpaceX took them apart as a preventative measure and found that, yes, there were concerns on those and fixed them so that, they've swapped it all out. They're being very, very above board, very, very, conscientious in attacking this, even just saying, oh, hey, if this one had a problem, maybe these other ones have a problem. They're not messing around with this stuff. They're doing it right. NASA was satisfied with the steps that they took to resolve the issue and provided the next launch that they have, which is the reschedule of the launch of the Falcon 9 to take up that group of satellites, provided that goes according to plans and it launches successfully. NASA has provisionally given the all clear for the launch to be rescheduled for Crew 1 to launch on November 14th. So fingers crossed for everybody involved that, number one, it's all successful, and number two, most importantly, everyone is safe. Also, NASA announced molecular water found on the moon on October 27th. Everybody's sort of been covering this of the week. It was the big news. And lastly, OSIRIS-REx had too much stuff in its sample container. It was greater than planned success. They had to take some extra steps to successfully, they couldn't sort of get it to close, and they took some steps to modify the procedure of what they were doing. They have now successfully sealed the sample container in place, and in Scott's video he shows a picture that was sent back of the canister properly secured. It's being sent back to Earth. It should get here in 2023, and we'll have some cool stuff to look at. All right. So next up, CNN put out an article. It was interesting. There was a fireball meteorite that fell to Earth in 2018, and it revealed its secrets. A 12-million-year-old meteorite, Jesus, that fell to Earth in 2018 has been found to be covered in over 2,600 organic compounds. They're calling this the Hamburg meteorite because it had landed just outside of Hamburg, Michigan, by a meteorite hunter named Robert Ward. And they're saying, scientists are saying that after extensively studying this, they're feeling like, okay, the numbers of compounds, because where it landed was in a dry, iced over, frozen over lake bed, where it didn't really come into contact with other organic materials. Now, presumably, it might have a little whatever, it's hard to sort of whatever, but they found it very quickly after it crashed down to Earth in 2018. They've studied it extensively, and because of the fact that it landed in a frozen lake bed, they're feeling that it's a very good thought or a very good sort of theory that this meteorite landed with these 2,600 plus organic compounds. And it's long been theorized or questioned that what if life on Earth sprung up on this planet because of, number one, the conditions were there, but number two, a meteorite fell to Earth with organic compounds on it that sort of then fed into the precursors that we had that turned into simple, cell organisms, that turned into complex multi-cell organisms, that turned into eventually, fish, things that crawled on the ground, monkeys, us, etc. So yeah, interesting stuff. Anton Petrov put out a video, possible discovery of a super habitable planet. KOI, which is a Kepler object of interest, 5715.01. This is the closest that we know of possible super habitable planet. They're saying that it would be what's more Earth-like than Earth. Like, what is even more able to sustain life than Earth? And we live in we have an M class. Is it M class or K class? I forget. The sun is M class.
G.
Oh, it's G class. Okay. Well, in this video,
I think so.
He talks about the fact that it's not actually the best one for life, because there's other ones that because our sun is not going to last as long as some other ones, and there's other ones that will last longer, but they throw out way too much radiation or have flares and have problems. This one is this planet, this KOI 5715.01, seems to be possibly sort of our best candidate that's close. There was another Kepler planet that was confirmed but farther away. So it looks interesting. Check it out. I always love the What the Math Anton Petrov videos. Melodies. What is it? Is it? Oh, it's Melodies. Cheap. I think I'm gonna fix this here. Melody Seep put out a video, Man on the Moon. It's music video with Apollo 11 audio remix. It's a cool, fun, funky little music video. And Isaac Arthur, because it's Halloween, I'm putting this one in the group. Isaac Arthur put out Science and Futurism, episode 262, Terrifying Aliens. It's a 30-minute long video. You want to scare the hell out of yourself on Halloween, check that shit out, because it's like, what if we met aliens? It's not so much like, oh, alien or predator or whatever. It's like, what if we meet aliens that are so different from us that they look at us the same way we would, like ants on an anthill, where it's like, oh, I'm not going to interact with, those weird little monkeys. I'm just going to sort of take the resources or take whatever I want and keep on moving. And what if it would look at us not even as a, whatever, or could be some spooky stuff that picture on the screen is freaking me out there, Arson. Roy, I know you had an article as well for Real Life Science.
Yeah, just so there's a few asteroids that have been tracked that are on this short list of things that come uncomfortably close to Earth at some point in our future, and Apophis is one of those. It actually has several passes, or a few passes, that have been mapped out in the future. Extremely low chances of any kind of impact, but it keeps popping back up and coming in the news. And one of the newest stories that Gizmodo had was that it's now they're reevaluating one of its passes in 48. That's supposed to happen in 48 years because of a phenomenon called the Yarkovsky effect. So I'm familiar with, I think many of our listeners are familiar with this idea that certain objects, when they go around the sun, they get heated up and they off gas, and that creates a kind of, it creates a stream you can see behind them sometimes, and sometimes it also creates a kind of propulsion that can change the orbit. This is something different. This is a much weaker effect where just the fact of heating the asteroid as it travels, in its orbit, and can create a situation where it will re-radiate that heat out asymmetrically based on its surface and other things, and simply the pressure of that infrared light leaving the asteroid is enough to infinitesimally adjust its orbit. And this is something, I guess, because we've been looking at this asteroid for so many years. The picture on the screen now is one from 2004, that they've actually detected this effect on it. And so now this adjustment from the Yarkovsky effect is something they're having to take into account. Hasn't changed that, now that they think it's, they don't think now it's drastically increased the probability it's going to hit us or anything, but it has changed it. So it'll be something that gets added to the analysis of this and presumably others along the way. One sort of fun fact about this is in 2029, Apophis will have a close enough pass to Earth that you'll actually be able to see it with the naked eye, because it's going to come closer than geostationary satellites. The pass that we're talking about with this Yarkovsky effect, really, it's a 1 in 150,000 chance. So yeah, mark your calendars, April 12th, 2068 for that one.
Nice.
Kai, you muted?
Did we lose Kai?
I don't know.
Oh, sorry about that. I had two buttons. All right. Good stuff. And I linked for the chat the Stargate SG-1 picture of Apophis. I will destroy you all. How many times do we have to kill this guy? All right. Love SG-1. And just as a side note, they say SG-1's coming, some Stargate is coming back.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right. Next up, we've got Roy Stories, Yuna Sakashiro, Part 7. Hook it up, Arson.
Next up in our Inara reading series is Commander Yuna Sakashiro with her story Unbound. We pick up the action on the 13th of June 3306 in Part 7, Eternity's Backdrop. The feeling of joy and relief that Yuna felt when she stepped out of her Sidewinder and onto the landing pad at Jacques Station was so overwhelming that she sank to her knees. Tears began to fill her eyes and blurred her vision. After weeks of traveling through the endless depths of space, she had finally arrived in Colonia. Yuna slowly walked through the corridor that connected the hangar with the station's main hub. The noise of the ships outside began to fade as she went deeper into the station's belly. The lighting in this part of the corridor was warm and attenuated. It made her feel safe and relaxed. She turned around a corner and saw a glass door at the end of a corridor. The room behind the door was brightly lit. Yuna covered her eyes. She noticed something in the air, a strange smell. She went further down the corridor. She could see her reflection in the polished wall. Her face, her pilot suit made of dark gray textile with the orange logo of Owen Shipyard on her chest. The smell in the corridor grew stronger. Yuna began to realize that the air here was even worse than in Coral City. She wanted to wear her respirator, but realized she had left it behind in her Sidewinder. For a moment she considered going back. The glass door at the end of the corridor was now only a few meters away. Yuna hoped that the air behind it would be better than this. And then a familiar shape appeared behind the glass. A young man, Caucasian, short red hair, gentle face, wearing a black pilot suit and an old brown leather jacket. Yuna realized it was Logan. A feeling of happiness grew in her as she walked towards the door. She had missed him so much. She noticed that his mouth was moving. His lips were forming words, but she could not hear them through the glass. She stepped closer. The door opened, and now she heard him speak. But it wasn't his voice. It was a female voice. It sounded like the voice of her shipwinder's Kovas, and it said, "Warning, temperature critical." Why would he say that? It made no sense. None of this made any sense. Sakashiro woke up in her pilot seat. She realized she had fallen asleep while scooping fuel. She was close to a star, way too close. The ship was about to overheat. The cockpit was already filling with smoke. Sakashiro grabbed the control stick and forced the Sidewinder into a sharp turn, then throttled up to 100%. Her ship had no heatsink launcher installed. If she dropped out of Super Cruise now, she would be burned alive. She felt her heart racing. Then the temperature began to drop. Sakashiro collapsed in her seat, exhausted. She was sweating. Her hands were shaking uncontrollably. When the adrenaline rush faded away, the pain in her leg returned. An unknown substance had burned the skin of her thigh and caused an infection back in the hardware room of Landing Pad 6, where she had fought for her life. She opened the first aid kit that was mounted to the side of the cockpit. The antibiotics didn't seem to work, and she was running out of painkillers. She opened the navigation panel and realized that she had no chance to reach Colonia in time before the infection would spread and incapacitate her. Sakashiro watched the vast star field on the other side of the canopy. Eternity's backdrop. This, she realized, was where she would die.
Wow, Yuna. Not having a great day there. But I've seen you in the chat many times, so I know you get out of it. So we'll have to see how. All right. How many more, Roy, are we going to have of Yuna before we switch off?
At least a couple. There's some good stuff. Yeah, more good stuff up ahead.
I dig it. Good deal. All right. Yuna with the wink in chat. Beautiful. All right. So next up, we have the discussion topics. Now, we did a topic a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, game balance, credits per hour, et cetera, and we talked about it a good bit. I feel like we already weighed in on it. I really would like to get, because I've had this discussion with Down to Earth a couple of times, I would like to get your input on what you think would be good to do with game balance, credits per hour, coming up maybe in Odyssey or whatever.
Yeah, so game credits per hour income balancing it's a very, very difficult topic to get right. We saw it with the we had the fleet carrier update where the fleet carrier changes were the main thing, right? And they just want to do some minor changes to mining. And we saw what happens if you make just a slight change to something, then it can have tremendous effects somewhere else. You have this like the butterfly effect almost. Like it's a very chaotic system to try and balance. So I think it's very difficult for Frontier to do this in a safe manner. And when it comes to rebalancing, I would say that there is definitely areas of Elite that needs rebalancing. There are activities in the game that I feel like should pay more. And might I say, there might also be activities that maybe should pay a little bit less than they do, especially income. It's always it's funny because if you go back a couple of years, we had the Quint Gold Rush, where you could do surface scan missions, and people were making, if you were good and if you were like focused on what you were doing and you were effective and you knew what you were doing and RNGesus was on your side, you were making 80 million per hour, and people were freaking out and calling it exploits, and people should be banned, and nobody should be able to make that kind of money.
And they were killing themselves to make it that fast too.
And they were working for it.
Yeah.
Today, yes. Today, if you know what you're doing, you have the right ship. Mining 150 to 200 million per hour is not a big deal. So there's been this I'm not gonna call it the power creep, but there's gonna be like an what was it called? Like
inflation?
No, an expected income creep, right? People have gotten used to getting these high incomes that it's going to be, I think, very difficult for Frontier to pull it down without having a massive like fallback from the community. So I feel like staying around the 150-ish mil per hour is probably going to be where we're going to see a lot of the stuff if they're going to rebalance it. But one of the main issues, and this is pretty much regardless of what activity you want to rebalance, the main problem is, and it's already a problem now, is you can't just go out, let's say combat, for instance, is one of the ones that often is used because it doesn't pay that much. But let's say that they just went out and say, okay, tomorrow all bounties are 10 times their current value. This might be fine for an endgame player that has their full engineered Corvette and they're just ripping through anacondas like it's nothing. That might now mean that combat for that player is now balanced compared to something like mining. But the problem is that you now completely skewed early game. So the balance is always that you need to try and find a way to make the balancing, like the income curve needs to be balanced as well. It doesn't work if a new player can go out in the Sidewinder, shoot one ship, and then they get 2 million credits.
So what if we were to look at mining and say, mining is good where it's at for an endgame player, but what are some methods we could use to sort of slow down the newbie just a little bit to make sure that they mine not at that prodigious rate?
Yeah, we briefly talked about this before, and I think if you wanted to slow, because mining for a new player is by far the fastest way to progress through the game, and you can, I think I showed it after the fleet carrier update where I had a character, I reset him, and within 24 hours of gameplay, not by clock time, but 24 hours of play time, I had enough to buy a fleet carrier.
Yeah.
And that was from a Sidewinder with nothing unlocked. So I think what you could do with mining, if you want to balance that and try to manage that income curve, would be to add engineering to mining lasers, so that a engineered mining laser would be as effective as it is today, approximately the same level as it is today. So you don't really touch income for the end game player. End game is very much in air quotes here. But that means the newer player who does not have access to all the engineers, doesn't have the resources and haven't spent the time unlocking engineers, is not going to be able to go out and just basically mine themselves an anaconda in an afternoon. Because as much as I like to see people progress in Elite, and as much as I want to help people progress in the game and get over that feel of grind that there is in Elite, I also think that it can put a lot of people off the game if they go out and within 2 days they're flying around in their brand new anaconda. Because that's one of the things that I really liked in my early game experience, was that unlock progress where you really feel like, oh, I've been working towards this ship. I really feel like I've earned this ship now. And that kind of goes away if you can just make an anaconda within the first day of playing.
So let me put the question to you. I have seen in some places here and there people making comments along the lines of like, all right, here's how you fix it. Number one, make all payouts for combat 10 times higher than they are now, minimum. What would happen if we were to do that? Specifically, I'm talking about the corner case of stacking wing massacre missions.
Yeah, okay, so that is, of course, the one of the things is the wing massacre missions right now pay, but it wouldn't be that bad for that, because the main source of income for wing massacre missions is the missions themselves. So if you don't touch the actual missions, but just touch the bounties, well, yes, you're going to add a significant amount of money to that, but I don't feel that is that huge of an issue, because the wing massacre missions, for those to work, you need to have a wing of 4 players they're dedicating their time to this task over multiple days, and people need to be online at the same time. There's a lot of coordination that needs to goes into this. You can't just go out as a solo player well, you can, but it's not going to be as effective as you were doing this in a wing, because everybody needs to be online at the same time to progress towards the mission, and everybody needs to be there when you're handing in order to get the credit payout from it. And
right,
yeah, so I don't feel like that's a huge.
That's if you only increase the payout of the bounties. But
Yes.
it has been suggested by some that you should, across the board on all payouts, including mission payouts, including everything, increase times 10 minimum the amount of payout on. So if you were to do for all things, including mission payout, if you were to take wing massacre missions and all of a sudden they paid out at 10 times higher, what would be the outcome of that?
People would make too much money. I think no, it would. I think if you want to fix combat, don't touch the bounties, because the bounties, I think, is in a pretty good place when you look at it early game. They're not good end game, but what I would like to see is to take something like wing massacre missions and turn the difficulty curve up to 11.
Yes.
And I mean, to the point, I mean, you should not be able to solo a wing massacre mission.
Right.
You should be dropped into some kind of mission target or some kind of mission signal source. And if you fly there, I don't care how good your ship are, you should be ripped to shreds. And
but
this
that
should
could
be
pay a lot more.
Yeah, but this should be so difficult that what you have to do was say, oh, I need to have someone who maybe have who's just flying with heli beams to try and keep other people alive. So we have like the tank DPS healer setup that we see from other games. You need to think about your fleet composition, and you need to have these different roles that needs to be filled in the fleet in order to complete these missions. And even then, it will require some coordination between the pilots saying, hey, I need healing, you need healing, don't go too far away, so otherwise I can't reach you. You really need a lot of coordination. Everyone needs to know what they're doing. And those situations, when you have that level of difficulty, then you can have the payouts as well. Of course, this kind of difficulty should pay out, because all of a sudden, if your healer mess up, or if your DPS, he runs too far away and pulls some aggro and he's out of range of the healer, his ship is gone. And all of a sudden you lost half the DPS you can field, and now you have to run and you just rebuy down. Yeah. I think something I don't even care if Frontier goes out and makes NPC ships that are way more powerful than what we can ever get as players. I wouldn't mind that if they were localized to these special missions. So I don't want over these kind of NPCs spawning in random belts or interdicting you, and that would be a little bit too difficult, right? But for these type of missions, like take wing massacre missions, turn them up to 11, and let the payouts go with them.
I have a question that I'd like Roy to get in on when he was thinking about other ways that you could gate progression. Roy?
Yeah, so if one of the unintended consequences of making too much money is you race through the ship progression, and as you've mentioned, and I've noticed this too as a relatively newer player, there's a lot of really nice experiences you get by going up through all the ships instead of jumping straight to the top ships. Could you see benefit in using other mechanics to gate that progress rather than credits? Like some of the ships are behind ranks. What if more were like that? Or what if it was maybe tied to engineer unlocks or some other mechanism I haven't thought of? Because it seems like the only people who take their time through that are the ones who maybe jump ahead too fast and then realize that wasn't great, or they hear about it from someone like you and then they intentionally hold themselves back. But should a mechanism be built into the game that sort of shepherds more people through that, which I think is a fun process?
Or how about, instead of say, oh, it's behind your Empire rank or your Federation rank, what if it's a combat ship that's tied to something with your combat rank, or a trade ship with your trade rank, or exploration, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, rank unlocks it's an easy way to get around the problem of people are making money fast. But like the root cause is people are making money fast. And normally the ship should be gated by their cost, that they're too expensive to buy for a new player. That's what's preventing a new player from buying an Anaconda right when they start.
Yeah, there is a certain aspect to gating it behind ranks that can make people feel like they've given up a bunch of their freedom of choice.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not a huge fan of gating behind rank unlocks. I get it for the faction ships. It makes sense, and that's fine.
Do you even agree it's a goal that should be pursued to try to make it so that people kind of have to progress through ships in the way it used to be?
I think it's beneficial for the game, for the player experience. It doesn't have to be something that takes months and months of gameplay. But I still feel like it would be beneficial if people have at least just tried to fly a medium-sized ship. Because there's a lot of good medium-sized ships. But I feel like what happens right now is people rush straight to the big three ships, and then they go back and say, "Oh, there's also all these medium ships." But I've seen this countless times. People start Elite, and they see people flying these highly super engineered ships, and I mean, I put videos out on them myself. And they say, "Oh, I want that ship." So they unlock it, they buy it, and then they realize having the ship is only 10% of the actual work that goes into getting that ship, because there's a bunch of engineers, there's a lot of materials, a lot of time spent engineering all those modules once you have them, and some of the modules are more expensive than the ship itself.
And power play.
Power play if you want those special weapons. So just getting the ship is only 10% of the work, and I feel like a lot of players kind of lose that because they don't. If you're brand new and you don't really want to, you don't really want to go into that whole engineering. There's a lot of new players who put engineering off at the beginning, which makes sense, but then later on, when they finally get their big ship, they realize that big ship is, well, trash. Basically, it doesn't live up to their expectations before they get all those engineers, which is such a tremendous task to unlock them.
Yeah.
And ideally, the way they think the game is intended, if you look at the unlock requirements for engineers, I see that as an extended tutorial.
Well, now that's available to a lot more players since Horizons just got rolled in.
True.
All right. So before we move on to the next topic, Arson, you get the last words on questions for Astro on this. Hydra.
No, the only activity there actually is in the game right now that requires a wing of people where they run support, that is the triple or double Healy beam ships that just put a rubber band around the trigger and then go AFK with turrets. No, it's not exactly. It's not exciting at all.
Yeah.
It works, but it's not exciting.
Harder content.
Arson, are you muted?
I love that. Muted like crazy. So I have fixed that problem. Sorry.
We got to wrap this up quick.
Yeah, let's just move on. Sorry.
All right. So the next topic was Ask David. So this was something I proposed to Frontier. I told them, have you or would you consider doing a special feature, maybe monthly, to promote Hype for Elite Dangerous, where David Braben does a quick 5-minute segment where he responds to submitted questions that could be vetted by the community management team. Something akin to the old 10 for the chairman segment that CIG used to do with Star Citizen in the past, back when they were making it seem like there was a game that was going to come out at some point. Whenever David speaks directly to the community, his energy and enthusiasm is very well received, and this format would give Frontier control over the endeavor in such a way as to minimize anxiety. Basically, a forum thread that we could all go to and ask our questions. This community management team would sift through it, pull ones that are appropriate and whatever, and you know, and then they would go through it. And I gave a follow-up question. Here's an example of something that I think David would be delighted to talk about, because I've seen him do like great talks where he's sitting there one-on-one with Scott Manley or this one or that one, and he just talks excitedly about the whole thing, and it's contagious. So here's a question. Does David consider humanity in 3306 in Elite Dangerous Universe to be a Kardashev type 1, 2, or 3 civilization, and why? It's the kind of stuff where he could just talk excitedly, nerd out. We all love when we see David, you know, excitedly going at things, and I don't know, it would just be a neat thing. So let's start right off the bat with the guest. What are your thoughts on that, Astro?
I think it depends a lot on the questions that will be answered, because I don't feel like if people go in and it doesn't make sense to put Braben up and begin to answer questions like, how will this new mechanic work and how will that new mechanic work? That can easily be handled by the community team. They already do that. They do a great job of it, I think. So the things, as you just mentioned there, the things that are interested are like the lore heavy stuff around the Elite universe. I think it would be great. I mean, we saw it with the first Dev Diary, where Braben was part of the live stream that was accompanying the first Dev Diary. And it was a massive positive feedback as I saw it. A lot of people really think it was nice to see Braben come out again publicly talking about Elite Dangerous.
Excitedly.
Being excited about it, being excited about the future of Elite.
Yes.
So yes, I would absolutely love to see a show like that. And like do it, I don't know, once a month, once a quarter, I don't know, something like that. And then focus the questions around the more law-intensive stuff, and let all the nitty-gritty mechanics questions and that kind of stuff, let that be handled by the community team. And then, yeah, the law stuff, because that also means that they can prep the questions months in advance, and they're not dependent on specific deadlines happening here and there, and oh, this content is not ready, so Braben can't talk about it yet. If it's law-related stuff, it doesn't matter if he answers that questions now or in 3 months, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Roy, you want to get in on this?
Yeah, I would echo that there's a level of questions that makes sense, and I'd even go further and say it's kind of like he's the Steve Jobs of space gaming. And it's a bit of a blessing and a curse, right? There's some game studios that I have no idea who's in charge of them, and I wouldn't care if that person came out and talked to us. But because he's shepherded this thing since Kickstarter and has the history for years before that, he is this personality and has this effect. Similar though to like a Steve Jobs presentation, like I could not imagine Steve Jobs standing in front of a crowd and taking questions. People go to see him went to see him because he'd blow their mind. He'd have some visionary thing, and he'd be talking about that. Right?
That's the point of this is not heckle, Mr. Braben. This is you submit your questions, they filter through them. He talks excitedly about something that's whatever. This isn't a town hall situation.
Perhaps, but I guess what I'm getting to is he in the past has come up with some visionary stuff, or even just a way of talking about things that I never expected and would never have thought to ask a question about. Like one that comes to mind is in one of the past talks where he's talking about how now they're moving towards a game that has this incredible scale from galactic all the way down, and now it's going to be to like walking on foot. And that's like a framework that never would have occurred to me to even ask a question about. And my point is, he's probably got stuff in his head that if he was given a platform and had the time and the motivation to do it, there'd be things he could come up with that would be incredibly valuable. Maybe they'd be questions from the community, but I'm saying there's a whole reservoir of stuff because he's the visionary leader of the company that he probably uses on a quarterly basis to, motivate people in the company or people around him on his executive team, that some of those nuggets could be equally energizing for the player community.
Okay. Arson, your thoughts. Please make sure you're not muted.
Yeah, I am not this time. I would absolutely love to hear Braben talk about some things that are more related to the actual lore or technological level of advancement of humanity. Like the whole idea that the Kardashev scale, that's actually something that I've personally thought about and wondered, like, what do we classify as? Because, I mean, we sure don't harness all of the energy from our stars, or at least as far as I'm aware. So, you know, what's...
When you say we, clarify. When you say we, do you
humans.
mean we or we 3306?
We 3306.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's the page I'm on. It's one of those things, like, where are we? I am huge into all of the nuts and bolts on the technology in the lore, and I would love to hear David Braben talk about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, see, I think we 3306 are at the point where we would be a Kardashev type 2 civilization, or a 1.5, 1.75. And this is almost, my asking that question is almost a sneaky hint of, hey, bro, why don't you throw in a Dyson sphere here and there? That would be cool to see. Down to Earth, I know you had something you wanted to add on that.
Yeah, so just thinking that they also Frontier would need to be careful with it, because if people take, if Braben goes out and say, oh, if he has a vision of something that he maybe a direction he wants to see Elite go, people take that as a promise.
Yeah,
because,
but I think he's savvy enough to know what he can and can't say.
Yeah.
With that lens. Yeah. But I agree. I understand what you're saying, the potential pitfall there, which is why you don't do this off the cuff. You do this, you know.
Yeah, well prepared in advance.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on to the next question topic, which is new ship types and modules. I would very much like, and I know that Roy, because he was like, you got to ask him this one. I was like, well, we've got a bunch of questions, and Roy was helping me filter through, and he's like, we have to do the ship question. There's no better person to ask than Down to Earth Astronomy. Let's start with you. Down to Earth, what would you like to see? I mean, they haven't addressed it yet, but come on, they're giving us new ships. What would you like to see as new ships or new modules or new types of ship gameplay or whatever in Odyssey?
So there will most likely, I would guess, be weapons or modules that's going to support a new on-foot experience. But one thing... Sorry?
Air-to-ground munitions of some sort.
Yeah, something like that. We already have dumbfire missiles as one of the only real options, but I would expect we could be able to see more stuff like that. That's not just going to be, hey, I sit here, fire this massive missile, and now everything explodes in a 2-kilometer radius. But on a completely different note, we were actually discussing this on, I think it was a live stream earlier. We were discussing ship builds. And we were discussing NPC fighter pilots. And we were discussing the idea of having like a fleet, like not a fleet carrier, because we have fleet carriers, like a drone ship, basically.
Yeah.
So
that's your Eve showing.
That's now my Eve side comes in and shows a little bit. But instead of us putting like PPP weapons in our hardpoints, if you could have drone control units, put those in there. So if you put in a huge, you control 4 drones. If you put in a large, 3, medium 2, small 1, something like that, right? Or make it scale however that seems feasible and seems fair.
Sure.
If you do that and then have essentially maybe not actual fighters, but like miniature versions of fighters, like some kind of drones that you then control. You control them a bit like fighters, like you target something, you tell your drones to go and fire on that target, and they will go chase down that thing and shoot it. And then your ship is just basically trying to stay out of the line of fire as much as possible.
Right.
I kind of like that idea. I think it could be a fun, very, very different mechanic. And I don't think it would be that different. We kind of have it with the Thargon Swarm. They could manage it like that. So you basically just have one swarm, just like the Thargon Swarm, and the size of that is then dependent on the number of drone control units you have fitted on your ship.
All right, was all of this just because you're trying to work in that you want an Astro frigate in Elite Dangerous?
No, I just think it could be a fun mechanic because all our ships right now is dependent on you pointing your nose in the direction of whatever you're shooting at and pulling the trigger. And then it's just the slight different variants of pulling the trigger. This would be some. Well, it is.
No, I went through all the work though of stretching it to pulling up the name of an Eve ship that's a drone ship, the Astro. And I didn't even get the groan laugh. I just
yeah, okay.
Right. You got okay, so we'll all be in Ishkers. Good to go.
Something like that.
I did
Next to
I
Navy issues.
Because so basically what you're talking about there is expanding, not saying, okay, I give you another weapon, like, oh, you got a gun. Okay, well here's a different gun. But you're saying, okay, well here's a different type of tool that comes at the whole thing from a different. And you know what could also be awesome would be, imagine having a mini carrier, like a mini cap ship that can go down and then deploy 4 or 8 or however many drones that are air to ground close air support, so that those drones are supporting your guys on the ground that are doing whatever. That there's all kinds of neat things we could do with that. I dig that. So now I'm going to put you to it, though, and say, okay, you've given us the concept of drone ships as a new thing. Now give us a couple of specific, like, all right, I want this type of ship that fits this hole. Like, there's an obvious, I feel like you've got the Vet that's the ultimate combat ship. You've got the Cutter that's the ultimate trade ship. You've got the Anaconda that right now sits in the role as the quote-unquote ultimate exploration ship. But I don't think it's great at that. The Anaconda is not, I don't think, what is meant to be the premier exploration ship. I think it's meant to be the best all-rounder. But
yes,
so there's a hole there for a large exploration ship. Give me another hole that you'd like to see filled.
So in general, I think, like, we saw the ship launches we got doing the Beyond update. It was just medium ship after medium ship after medium ship. I feel like the fan of possibilities we have on the medium size is very well covered now.
So let's see
but the large,
some smalls.
Yeah, small ships are. It's okay. There are some definitely some options. There are a few holes here and there that I could see, but we saw it with the Crate Mark II, where you had the Python, which in my mind always been like the mini Anaconda. It's like the multi-purpose ship. It can do everything okay, but in some situations there was something that were better. And then we got the Crate Mark II that kind of took the combat role out of the Python. As where before it was a decent option, but now the Crate Mark II is just a better choice, hands down. I would like to see that happen on the large side. Of the large ships, we have got a few new ones. We got the Type 10, we got the Beluga. So there is something happening on the large ship size, but I would like to see a dedicated exploration ship would be nice. But just having more options. We have so many options in the medium-sized ones that it would be something that fits exactly your play style. But if we go into, let's say, something like Xeno hunting, and you look at that, you often have a very specific combination of hardpoint sizes you need for a specific build to work. And say, oh, I need this many medium-sized, I need this many large size, whatever. So I think just having more options in the large ship category would be nice, and maybe I think sometimes would be funny. Frontier would throw us a little curveball, say, okay, here's a ship that maybe we need to figure out how it works. The chances are, of course, that they're going to make something that nobody's going to fly because it doesn't work for anything.
Type 10?
That's an example, yeah.
Okay, while we're at it, yes, can we just get a complete start over on the Type 10, please? Just tear it down, rework it, come out with something. Because, I mean, it's the large anti-Thargoid ship. It's the worst ship in the game for AX combat. It's not
because it's the hard point placement.
Just not good at anything. Rework it and give us a doctrine that works for the Type 10 while we're at it.
Or maybe come out with a series of ships. When we have Aegis fighters, maybe come out with a line of Aegis ships that maybe has some natural caustic resistance built into the ship hull itself. Something along those lines.
All right, Roy, it's your time. It's your time to ask Astro. Go for it.
I like the concept of having the drone ship. I think that to me almost feels like it's sort of like where I'm going to go a bit down a rabbit hole here, but the original Star Trek tried to project what things would look like in the future, and then here we are in this day and age when we've already invented half the things that showed up on the show, and we have things that are better, so now it looks dated. There maybe could be a similar thing happening with Elite, where drone warfare, I could imagine in 5 or 10 years of now, is so potent that it's actually, I've seen some stuff I've read where they're looking to get it almost classified as a weapon of mass destruction because it's going to be so catastrophic of having 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 drones come and swarm a civilian space or something. So that could end up being a pivot in real life that has no analog in the game because it wasn't anticipated. But it's absolutely effective. So I could see if they could work it in. Yeah, that would totally make sense.
I don't know if you saw, but along the lines of what you're saying there, Roy, an alert just went out to the State Department this week saying to watch out for all military personnel and embassy people overseas or whatever, that they have credible reason to believe that Al-Qaeda, ISIS, whoever is going to start using drones to attack embassies in whatever places across the planet outside of the continental U.S.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that technology has become so accessible, and deadly. I hope they stay safe. I think one gameplay loop. This might sound obvious, but I think one of the gameplay loops that I find really fun, and Astro, I think you demonstrate that by doing so many videos about it, is crafting ships. Theory crafting and then going around and getting all the material, like that whole thing of, it's almost like when you're, I don't know, planning a camping trip. Sometimes planning it and getting everything ready is as much fun as actually going on the trip. There's like that's a gameplay loop, and that gameplay loop is enabled by having more ships, and not just more ships, but I'd like to see more ships in any category where it diffuses the meta, so that there isn't such an obvious choice all the time. And you could have almost, I don't know if it's a rock, paper, scissors thing, but have some constraints on all these new designs so that it's not obvious, or it makes for more niche designs, or gives you a reason to go engineer 3 ships instead of 1 situationally. I think that would be a great thing. I think the thing that could inject some life into small ships is if there was a viable stealth mechanic.
Yeah.
Right?
Like especially against NPCs.
Yeah, that would be awesome. The other way to go about it, if you want to make small ships viable, is put in shoebox stations or whatever that have only small spots, or put in missions that have a requirement to go someplace or do something that are accessible by small ships only.
Yeah.
Because I tried something with small ships where I tried to do a sniper build. Built on on a Diamondback, and the idea was to try to go away from the idea of you have your shields absorb your damage, and then you have your weapons, and it's just who has the biggest boots. But yeah, I think it could be fun to go and see. Basically, what you're saying here is we want to, it could be fun to see other types of damage negating than just shield and resistance. It could be.
I mean, it would be for a small ship. It would naturally lend itself towards evasion, some evasion mechanic.
We
stealth.
kind of have it. I mean, we have that. If you're running a really small ship, you can try to evade a lot of damage by maneuvering around. But we kind of have the stealth in heat, but it doesn't really work.
Yeah.
Well, they need to make night vision, scale with actual heat and not just make it an instant find everybody.
Yes, please.
Arson.
Yeah, so on the ship thing, I would like to see this personally in a medium ship because those are the ships that I like. But I want to see a dedicated science ship. And what I mean by that is one that, because right now scanners and survivability and open play do not mix. And I want an 8 utility ship. 8 utility slots, 5 hard points, medium and small only, similar to how the Cobra Mark IV is laid out. So it's kind of Python-ish, lots of internal compartments, but not large ones. But the mindset is you get a lot of parts that you can kind of build out the thing for all kinds of material collection and all that kind of stuff. Even gimp the jump range if you want. I don't care. But I want a single platform where I can go out and, interact with a whole bunch of different things in the game all at once. And I think that right now, if you want to be able to survive gank attempts or PvP murder attempts against you in open play, you can't reliably carry scanners, and there's really not a ship in the game that gives you that. And the only 2 6 utility slot ships for medium pads are the FDL and Mamba, and neither of those are even remotely any good for science activities.
They can't jump.
It's just. And their utilities, the optional compartments, there's not sufficient space to actually collect things and store them on your ship efficiently if you want to be multi-role or versatile on it. Something, that's not super, super tanky, not super, super fast, but it has massive amounts of versatility. I would love to see that.
Okay. Interesting. All right. And then I'm going to throw this out here as another, and I've been championing this for forever, so everybody's going to be like, yeah, we've heard it already, but modules for a ship, I would like to see some form of increased size SLF bay or dedicated SLF bay that drops a larger SLF that has, even say it has no weapons, but it has, science capability, it has a little bit of storage spot, and it has the ability to deploy an SRV, so that we have now a shuttle that can go in atmosphere and deploy an SRV while the ship itself remains safe in situations of, for example, high G worlds or this, that, and the other. I just think it would be cool to have a little runabout. It would be cool to have a little shuttle. What do you think, Astro?
Yeah, we would have to find a way to keep the main ship safe somehow while you do that. But you could work that by just adding more fighters instead of having combat-focused fighters. Having, as you say, it could be a mining fighter, it could be like a shuttle, it could be a science fighter, and then allowing maybe some greater distance for the ship, or basically allowing maybe to just tell the ship to stay where it is and let maybe give it just a super cruise but no jump or something like that.
Yeah, or the equivalent of when you land and dismiss your ship. Your ship goes off into the ether and it's completely safe. It's invincible wherever the hell it is.
Yeah, it jumps into somewhere and just drops out a super cruise somewhere in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then you can recall it again at some point if you need it.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see that being a great addition for explorers as well.
Absolutely. So I'm going to give you, Down to Earth, the last word on anything on the game balance, credits per hour, the Ask David thing, the ship modules or ship types, anything you want to hop in on.
The only thing that I actually wanted to just quickly take up is this has been discussed before with the limpet controllers. Why we have separate limpet controllers, like one for collecting, one for hatch breaking, one for blah, blah, blah. Why not just give us the option to say, I have a limpet controller, and I can then launch a multitude of different limpets. It would be a buff to limpets, meaning that you can all of a sudden carry all the different limpets at the same time. But
lore-wise, it does make sense, though, that why would a computer not be able to program it to do whatever the hell he wanted to do?
Exactly. We have already these blank sheets in our cargo hold that are then programmed by the module. But come on, give me a bigger hard drive and then put the programs for both of them on there. It would make sense. It would be a really nice quality of life, and it wouldn't be overpowered, because the situations where you have multiple collectors, well, you wouldn't be able to. You often have the same number of limpets, right? So you wouldn't suddenly be able to carry a ton more collector limpets. It would be the same number, but yeah, it just makes things a little easier.
Yeah. All right, so moving on, we've got the community questions. Community question 1 is game balance, credits per hour. What do you think needs to be changed, and what are the pitfalls to watch out for? Question 2 is Ask David. The idea of a segment of David Braben doing a weekly, or not weekly, a monthly or quarterly or whatever, kind of a little short segment like he did at the Developer Diary, Dev Diary 1, where he just, does a little talk on a couple of pre-done questions, or as Roy said, maybe just something that he wants to go off the dome, something that he wants to talk about. And we get to see the man, the legend himself, excitedly talking and nerding out about Elite and various space stuffs. And question number 3 is new ship types and modules. What new ship type, or what new module, or what new, as Astro pointed out, sort of method of gameplay would you like to see sort of become a thing? What excites you? What interests you? And what do you think we are going to get in Odyssey? Do you think we're going to get any at all? A lot of people have said, like, no, I don't think so. I think maybe SRVs, but not ships. I think we're going to get ships and SRVs. That's just me. We'll see.
I don't think we're going to get ships at launch, but we are most likely going to get them eventually.
Okay. Interesting. Roy, do you have a quick, very, very short, streamlined version of the feedback that you can do? Because we're running way late.
Yeah, there's a couple. I'll shorten the one of them up. The other one's already very short. We had a quick shout out from Commander Thalma. This is the intrepid explorer who drove his fleet carrier all the way around the galaxy. He just wrote back, happy can't even sum up the feeling of learning that tritium got twice as effective, let me tell you.
So that was just to give it context. Last week when we talked about this circumnavigation, I said, man, imagine being that guy, how happy he was when Frontier announced, oh, by the way, all tritium is now twice as effective as it was yesterday. Like, holy cow. And he was like, dude, you don't even know the beginning of it. Way more than just happy. All right.
Yeah. So the other one was Professor Owan from Canon wrote back responding to the conversation we had about the I'm going to mangle this, the non-human signal sources that you reported on, and there was the issue of one being a different color than the others in that image, showing them in the structure, and whether that was a thing, a new thing to explore, and if there was some content there. And he wrote in that it's actually something that's been around for a while, but a lot of people don't encounter it because the frequency of seeing a sensor with scouts in a threat 4 non-human signal source is pretty low. Like, it took him over 50 tries, because he knew it was there, but over 50 tries to find it. And that also, and this could maybe speak to whether there's something different about these or not, but he mentioned that one of the other unique qualities is that the sensors and probes you get from those interactions are marked as stolen if you pick them up. So that may be how, behind the scenes, maybe that's how in the database they're differentiated from the others. So he just wanted to point out that it wasn't a new thing. It has been around for a while, but that I didn't get the impression that was maybe the end of the story. But it has been around for a while, and they're trying to maybe still figure out what to do with it.
It's interesting. I haven't heard from anyone else, from any other source, that information. So that's potentially new information. I guess I don't know. I'm a little surprised because I specifically talked about this with multiple members of Canon and didn't get that response. But Owan has been around and seen a lot of stuff, so I guess that's.
It sounds to me like it could still be there's a loose end there somewhere, but it's not definitely a new start to the story.
Yeah, I think this falls under the heading then of similar to that engine breach repaired thing that we're talking about for tonight. It's like, does this definitively mean something, or is this just a who knows?
Yep.
All right. Well, so I guess people will continue to look into that, and we'll see what's what. State of the game. Holy cow, has it been a night? The state of the game is fantastic. I think it's really, really good. I'm upgrading it a little from last week. I part of me wanted to see big Thargoid invasion, big Thargoid something here, but I think Frontier addressed that when they said, like, hey guys, we hear you, everything's coming, but it's coming in time. There's a time scale, and we're doing this in a way that, like, it's going to be cohesive to the story. So I think maybe people need to not freak out just yet and take it as it comes, and if nothing else, look at the fact that what we have here with this story, while it's not directly Thargoid combat as the Halloween event, it is definitely a piece of the Thargoid puzzle, and we should be intrigued about that and see where it's going. Arson, your state of the game.
I am quite enjoying it. I'm loving the fact that this isn't just another CG. I love that we're seeing the mysteries and puzzles to be solved, even though I can't really directly participate in them because I don't have decoding skills. It's fantastic to be able to sit on the sideline and watch this. I'm very happy.
Beautiful. Roy, your state of the game.
I'm having a great time. I mean, I think the main dimension I'd measure any kind of event like this on is fun, and I've been having a lot of fun. I feel like I'm a part of something that's new, and I'm on the leading edge of it, even though there's 20,000 other people doing it with me. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm glad they've done it this way.
Beautiful. And the reserved spot of honor, the last person that gets their say on the state of the game for our guest, Astro.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo a lot of the things that's already been said. I'm really enjoying the way Frontier's going with things right now. I'm really much looking forward to Odyssey and the Halloween event they've been running here. While the number of hours in game, like the content in game, may not be that many hours. Once everything is solved, you can see everything in an hour or two. I think the amount of time you have out of game trying to solve all these mysteries and following up on the stories as they progress is that's a really good experience, I think. So
yeah, I think Frontier this week have given us a lot for our $0 per month of
exactly
of, maintenance on this game. All right, beautiful. All right, so we're gonna go around the horn again, and everybody say goodbye. I'm gonna leave you with watch the doors and corners, kid. That's where they get you. Roy, say goodbye to the beautiful people.
Fly casual, but stay dangerous.
Arson, do your thing.
Now I have my fire.
See, I knew he couldn't go the whole episode without saying something fucking creepy. All right.
It's Halloween!
Down to astronomy. Say goodbye to the beautiful people.
I'll see you guys in space.
Arson, play us out.